phone call. No.
Click pens instead.
Yeah, click, bang, bang, bang. So first order of business tonight is we're going to ask Nigel Puppet to come introduce herself to us. We recently appointed her to the Attleboro Cultural Council just to introduce herself to the community, tell us a little bit about her interest. And so come on up and introduce yourself, give us your name.
Hello, my name's Nigel Popat. I live here in Attleboro. I'm 23 years old. I went to school at Salem State for criminal justice. I recently graduated with my master's there, too, in criminal justice. I'm interested in the Attleboro Youth, the Cultural Council, because I was actually in the Youth Council back in high school, so I know what the good it can do. And I think keeping things with cultural and everything, it's important to raise money for that, and it brings the community together, so that's why I wanted to join.
Great, thank you so much. Any questions? Councilor Blair?
Nothing to do with the qualifications. Are you employed in your trade from school?
So I still am working retail. I'm currently trying to find a job in my field.
And how old are you, dear?
I'm 23.
23. Plenty of time. Be careful.
Any Councilor Freeman?
Sure. I think it's terrific. Thank you very much for your volunteerism, not only when you were young, but now, and to continue that life of service. I think that's terrific. It's not often that we have young adults standing in front of us willing to volunteer their time to the various committees in our community. So thank you very much for that, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. I think it's important for young people to volunteer because a lot of people say that well, I'm not really a millennial, but us Generation Z doesn't really get involved, and this is the world we're going to be living in. We're the next generation to take care of it, so if we don't know what it's about, then the world's going to crumble.
Good.
Excellent, thank you. Councilor Delissio?
I think I was migrating in as you were migrating out of the Youth Commission, so it's fantastic to see you here again. And
thank you.
Still doing Youth Commission, so I'd love to have you come back to the Youth Commission at one point and just kind of talk about your journey, because I think you'll see more people like yourself who sought out the Youth Commission and continue to serve. So congratulations, it's awesome to see you.
Thank you.
And again, thank you for your service to the city. I'm not sure if you've heard from the city clerk yet to be sworn in. If you haven't, you will.
Okay.
And he'll have you come down and be sworn in and give you a certificate that it's official. Okay? Thank you. Next on the list is Mahesh Patel, and we appointed Mr. Patel to the Attleboro Public Library Board. And he too hasn't come before the council yet to be introduced, so Mr. Patel, take it away.
Hey, good evening. My name is Mahesh Patel. I've been a resident of Attleboro for over 37 years, and this young lady, I saw her growing up, and I know the parents. Her uncle was he had a doctorate degree, but he was very good at what he was doing in Texas Instruments. He led a department in research. So he passed away a couple of years ago, but and I know her whole family. I'm involved in a lot of organizations, including Rotary Club, and I think I certainly have some contribution to make to the library in different ways, and I'm looking forward to participate.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Patel? No? All right. Thank you very much for your, I'm sorry, Councilor Hall.
Yes, I do know Mahesh, and he is very active in the community, and I think he'll make a great addition to the library, and they need good people on the library committee because it's such a vital part of the community. So thank you.
Welcome. Thanks.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other? No? Okay. So, continuing from the docket of December 5th, 2017, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $23,234.08 from account 112410000-578300 Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer to account 116210000-515075 election earned time regarding the need for funds to cover the retirement buyout of vacation and sick time of Mary Ann Drain upon her retirement on December 29, 2017. Thank you. You all received the memo from Cheryl Perry regarding this. It's pretty self-explanatory. You have to do the buyout at the employee's retirement, and that's what the amount is based on the number of hours. Any other questions, comments, problems? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes. I entertain a motion to confirm the appointment of Ron Moreau, 5 O'Donnell Drive, to fill an unexpired term on the Municipal Building Commission, term to expire February 2018.
Second.
Thank you. Linda reached out to Mr. Monroe today to see if he could come. Today he wasn't able to. He'll come to our first committee meeting in December to be introduced to the community, but certainly needed on the commission. We're doing a lot of things building-wise, right? So we need to make sure that these committees are full, so we will have him come back. You all received his resume in last week's communication. We'll vote him out this week and then take it from there. Any other questions, comments, problems? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. From the docket of August 18th, 2016, I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of August 18th, 2016, that the Personnel Director review the personnel rules and regulations for employees not covered by collective bargaining agreements, exempt employees, and that the revisions, updates, or changes can be made appropriate with the approval of the Municipal Council in accordance with Section 13-6 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro. Okay. Motion is in order. So this was new business that was introduced in August 2016. I did speak with Owen Bebo. No. Yes. About this today. Again, circled back with him just to make sure that there weren't any other issues between the time that this was introduced and now. And he didn't have any, didn't think that it was necessary, thought it was not sort of within the private sector, was inconsistent with what's done in the private sector, and thought that what we had in the books and personnel and rules was appropriate. Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I entertain a motion to strike the following from the docket of March 1st, 2016. 2 letters from Paul Machad, Joanne Troiano, Donald Allard, and Margaret to President Cook, dated February 8th and February 11th, 2016, regarding the anti-bullying ordinance.
Second.
Thank you. So my comments apply to all of these items, these communications that are in the committee. I spoke again to Owen today about this, and I have asked that Linda and I will put these communications together and draft a communication to the mayor-elect, because one of his campaign commitments was to form a disabilities commission, and that's where these communications belong. Prior to that, prior to today, I did have a meeting with the mayor about 6 or 8 weeks ago regarding this at the request of a constituent. And there was some information coming down from the state, hasn't come down yet. So between those communications and anything that comes from the state, those can be the first order of business for the Disability Council that the new administration has committed to forming. Any other questions, comments, problems? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you, motion passes. I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of February 2nd, 2016. 2 communications to President Cook from Donald Allard, Paul Machad, Joanne Troiano, and Margaret, disabled residents of Gardner Terrace.
Second.
Thank you again. The same comments. There were multiple communications regarding several incidences at Gardner Terrace. Any other questions, comments, problems? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Opposed? Motion passes. I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of December 22nd, 2015. 5 communications received from Attleboro citizens regarding the status of I'm sorry, cut off, of a proposed ordinance concerning the bullying of elderly and disabled residents, two dated December 4th, 2015, one dated December 5th, 2015, one dated December 7th, 2015, and one dated December 15th, 2015.
Second.
Thank you again. Same comments. We'll compile all these communications and send them to the mayor-elect. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of December 15th, 2015. Communication from Attleboro citizens regarding the status of a proposed ordinance concerning bullying of elderly and disabled residents. Thank you. Again, my comments are the same across all these communications. It just came in at different times, so I need to call them out each individually. Any other questions? No, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. From the docket of March 17th, 2015, I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of March 17th, 2015, that the council continue to investigate the anti-bullying issue and plan for further discussions with the Council on Human Rights. This was new business introduced by Ms. Hegney, 3/3/15.
Second.
Thank you again. It's the same issue. We can refer this to the new administration with the rest of the information for the Disabilities Council. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. From the supplemental docket of June 3rd, 2014, I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of June 3rd, 2014. Amend personnel rules and regulations as follows. Article, I don't know my Roman numerals.
18.
What is it?
18.
Is it 18? Oh, I almost, okay. 18, reimbursement for education courses, insert new section. Section 2, and if an employee separates from their employment with the city within 5 years of a reimbursed course, the employee shall then be responsible for repayment of such funds.
Second.
Thank you. As I said, I spoke to Owen today regarding this. He thought two things. One is it's inconsistent with sort of what the practice is around educational reimbursement, and it's also hard to recover money after they have left. So, and he hasn't had an issue with this since he's been here. I think he told me 3 years. So I would say it's ready to be strucken from the record. Any other questions, comments, problems? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. I entertain a motion to strike the following from the docket of January 7th, 2014. I entertain a motion to strike the following from the item from the docket of January 7th, 2014, to amend Section 13-6 Personnel Rules and Regulations of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro as follows. Officers and employees of the City of Attleboro who have been authorized by the mayor and by an appropriation by the municipal council to receive compensation to advance their education shall be obligated to reimburse the city if they terminate their employment. For undergraduate degree programs, the employee must agree that if he or she voluntarily or involuntarily leaves the City of Attleboro employment, the employee will repay the City of Attleboro the full amount of any tuition reimbursements received during the 12-month period preceding the employee's termination date. For graduate degree programs, the employee must pay 100% of any tuition reimbursements received during the 12-month period preceding the employee's termination date, and the employee must repay 50% of any tuition reimbursements received 13 to 24 months prior to the employee's termination date. This payback agreement will not be enforced in situation where the employee's position is eliminated and he or she is eligible for severance. This was new business from Mr. Conti, 12/17/13. Thank you. And my comments are the same from the previous one. They're two very similar. This is a business, and Owen's comments were the same. Councilor Conti.
So I'll be opposed to the striking of this ordinance, which was brought to me by a constituent, that the intent was to have it passed and that the agreement of employees when they were hired would understand when they signed their employment contract that this would be part of their employment agreement. So it would not be hard to recover the money after their termination because they would be obligated by contract to repay it. And the obligation would be understood in a condition of their employment. The taxpayer that asked me to put this in saw a big difference between the public sector and the private sector. that being employed by a city with taxpayers' dollars is different than a corporation employing someone and sending them to school. And this is not a light issue. I myself this year have been through 103 hours of continuing education. That's a lot. And I'm just an assessor. You know, there's a lot of requirements for continuing education and the licenses of the department heads where they must take courses which the city does fund and is expensive. The one-week course that I took up in New Hampshire 3 weeks ago when I was absent from the council was a course on land appraisals. It was a 35-hour course costing $585. You know, the city of Taunton agreed to fund that if I get a passing grade. And the thinking of the constituent who asked me to put this in the ordinances was upset that we had lost a city employee had gotten his master's degree, and immediately upon getting the master's degree gave us termination notice. It was very clear that they were using the taxpayers' dollars intentionally to get a degree to advance themselves to get into a position outside of government. So for those reasons, and I'll be opposed to the striking of this ordinance, and that concludes my comments.
Thank you. A couple of comments. One is that from what I understand, Massachusetts is an employment at will state. So you can have all the contracts you want, but if you're not a contracted employee, you follow the same benefits as everybody else. So you'd have to carve that particular position out, and we don't do that in the city. You know, I understand and I appreciate where you're coming from, but I also know personally in my my line of business, I have, you know, more initials after my name than in it, and I have to get a lot of, that's the reality. I have you know, have to get a lot of CEUs to maintain that, and some I pay for, and some my employer pays for, and some, you know, and there are off years. You go through the same thing, I'm sure, with all your licenses. So it is an issue, but it's not. It's a small pool of people. I have to respectfully disagree with the timing. I think the timing of that move was unfortunate. I don't think it was deliberate. Like, I got this piece of paper from wherever I got this piece of paper for, now I'm going to take this job. I am going to support it, and I think it's, you know, Owen didn't think that it was necessary, hasn't seen anything like it, and that particular instance was before his time, because it was 2013 when this was introduced. And I think the person left it in the fall of that year. So, any other comments?
If I may?
Yes, sir.
So I too met with Mr. Bebo about 6 weeks ago. And at the time, he was unaware that the new Municipal Modernization Act encourages cities and towns to develop employment contracts with the staff members with whom they previously did not typically have employment contracts, such as assessors. And that the contracts that the Massachusetts Municipal Act is encouraging would be exactly this kind of thing. So sticking with the sentiment of the taxpayer who asked me to put this forward, that they don't want even the perception that their taxpayers' dollars are being taken advantage of, I remain steadfastly against, and that concludes my comments.
Any other comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, motion passes. And that concludes the business for Personnel and Human Services this evening. Call for an adjournment at 7:25.
Second.
Thank you, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned, 7:25.
So short here, don't I?
Yeah, I'll be your third, by the way.
I'm sorry?
I'm your third member.
I see, yes. All right, I'm going to call to order the Committee on Zoning and Land Use at these ones, so that's looks like 7:25. Okay, the members of my committee are Councilor Jackson, who's not here, Councilor Cooper, so President Cook will be filling in for Councilor Jackson. So I have one motion tonight. I think it's sort of actually two motions, it looks like, but from the docket of November 22nd. From the docket of November 22nd, I entertain a motion to adopt the following amendment to the zoning ordinance in accordance with General Laws, Chapter 40A, Section 5, and Section 17-1.6, amendments of the zoning ordinance. Be it ordained by the Municipal Council of the City of Attleboro that the zoning ordinance be amended as follows. The petition from the Attleboro Planning Board to amend Section 17-10 special regulations by inserting Section 17-16.0 signs with amendments through June 27th, 2017. The sign ordinance was read in its entirety at a previous committee meeting. Councilors asked questions pertaining to the 5 points that were brought up by Attorney Jack Jacoby at the public hearing. Gary Arasian is present to clarify these points. One new section is proposed and copies have been distributed to members. Okay. Go ahead. Second, okay. Let me just go over then the 5. I just want to go over the 5 points that were brought up, and I'll open it up after I say the 5 points, and then make sure that we got those correct. So the first point that was brought up is the geographic overlay. There was a suggestion that the sign ordinance should be imposed by geographic overlay rather than by zoning district. That was the first one. Flashing and animated signs. There was a suggestion that the ordinance does not regulate flashing and animated signs. Wall signs. There was a suggestion that more wall signs should be allowed. Excuse me. Pylon signs. There was a suggestion that the area of a pylon sign should be related to the number of businesses in the plaza rather than the frontage. 5 window signs. There was a suggestion that the window sign should not be regulated. And then there was also a question about how, if there was a concern, if somebody wanted to have a variance, how that would be handled. So I think I'm going to leave it at that and ask for Mr. Arasian or Miss Stephanie to come up and explain those things.
Good evening. Stephanie Davies, Senior Planner for the city. So, as you said, there's sort of 5 areas where I understand the council would like some more discussion. And as you said, the first is that geographic overlay. We propose in the ordinance to regulate signs by zoning district. And in our mind, that is sort of geographic in nature because Washington Street has certain zoning districts, Pleasant Street has certain zoning districts, North Main Street has other zoning districts. And so I'll just give you a couple of examples. So Washington Street, when we think of Washington Street, we often think of sort of the larger plazas. BJ's, Shops on Mayfair Plaza. We might think of Cardi's down on Newport Avenue. Those particular shopping plazas are zoned planned highway business. Planned highway business is intended to characterize or to cover those large shopping plazas that have vast arrays, fields of parking in the front of the plaza, and they're very large scale. That's planned highway business. The vast majority of Washington Street is actually general business. So between those shopping plazas at either end, it's general business, and that's largely characterized by sort of smaller individual chains like McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts, and then some smaller plazas that have smaller individual businesses. And those don't tend to have the sort of huge parking in the front. They maybe have one row of parking in the front of the business, things like that. Pleasant Street and a large portion of Washington Street are both general business. And they both have McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts and Honeydew and those kinds of businesses. And so we've made a distinction between the very large plazas and the smaller plazas in our sign ordinance. And we feel that that is the best, the best way to do it, the least arbitrary route, as opposed to a geographic overlay. So that's the thinking behind that.
Okay, so what is the amendment that you're trying to make to that?
So we're not proposing an amendment for that. We believe that the imposing the sign regulations vis-a-vis zoning districts makes the most sense for the city. Like I said, Washington Street is not a monolithic type of shop. It's not all very large shopping plazas and so forth. It has different types of businesses that we feel are captured. We feel that the distinctions of the different types of businesses are captured by the zoning districts.
Okay, so just so there's clarity in what's going on here is that, we brought this to, and it hasn't come out of my committee yet, so it hasn't been voted out, so we're still in the process of discussing those 5 points. So there is no actual amendments that are going to be made now. What they're doing is just presenting what they would agree with those 5 points. Okay, so.
I think what you listed as the second item, regulating flashing and animated signs, we do actually have extensive references to those types of signs in the ordinance. We include definitions for animated and electronic message centers. Those are in the alphabetical definitions on page 2. We include illumination standards. That's page 5. We include standards for the frequency of message changes. That's page 8. And we only allow these types of signs in certain districts by special permit only. So we do regulate these signs. That was a large reason for feeling the need for the sign ordinance in the first place. So.
Yes, go ahead.
So, Madam Chairman, it sounds like there's a communication disconnect because the planning board had the full zoning ordinance and they came up with this issue. And yet we're hearing that there are several places where it's addressed, so we probably need to go back to the planning board to figure out what was behind their issue.
Yeah, the only thing we can talk about is there were 5 points that were brought up by Mr. Jacoby, and so those are the 5 points that we're discussing. So those are the things that we're addressing tonight, is those 5 points in particular. So I don't think we can go back to the planning board and get that solved.
To Council Conti, if I may. So these points, as she suggested, were brought up by Jack Jacoby, and his suggestion was to eliminate the regulation of animated signs. And what I think I heard Stephanie say, and what the ordinance says, is that they're allowed, they're just regulated. It was his position, as I understood it, was he didn't want them regulated.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. My understanding from the tape that I watched was actually that he wanted more regulation of them.
Well, let me just go right back in my notes. What date was that?
Oh, geez. November, sometime in November.
You don't have to stop.
Okay.
You can keep going.
So the next thing is the wall signs.
So the third was wall signs. There was a suggestion that more wall signs should be allowed. And for example, if you had the corner unit on a plaza, or if you had a standalone business in a shopping plaza with 4 sides, things like that. So in this case, we do actually suggest what we feel is a very minor modification. In the table of permitted signs, which is, I believe, on page 7 or 8 in the ordinance that you have, there's language for wall signs. And it currently reads, one of the following signs shall be permitted per business. And it goes on to list the square footage of the wall sign and so forth. We would suggest changing that first bullet to one of the following signs shall be permitted per street frontage per business, which would, so it's a very minor change, but would allow you, if you were the corner business on a street, to have 2 wall signs, one on each frontage. You know, we think that's fair, more than amenable to make a minor amendment.
If I may, it was
Yes.
October 3rd, 2017. Speaking opposed was, according to my notes, was Attorney Jack Jacoby. And he described, and I put this in quotes, as an anti-business ordinance. And he wanted to, what I wrote down, regulate animated signs. And what you're suggesting is that they are regulated by this ordinance.
Absolutely.
That's what I
Yes.
thought. Okay.
Okay. So that's, yeah, that's what 2's about. Okay, any question about the wall signs? Comments or questions about the wall signs? Mister?
Stacy, what would happen if you had one street frontage and the building stood alone? You would only be allowed a sign on the front of the building? If it wasn't on a corner lot?
Right, so if it's not a corner lot and you just have one building there, yeah, you'd have just one on your frontage. You wouldn't have a sign on the back of the building, for example.
How about the sides? If it was visible from the street, no way to get a special?
Well, yes, so there's, one thing I was gonna get to later is
I'm
that.
sorry.
No, this is a perfect opportunity. So, one thing that we felt maybe wasn't clear in the ordinance was how you would go about varying from what's proposed, or from what we're proposing in the language. So, of course, we can't write an ordinance to, anticipate every possible lot and building and sign configuration and so forth. So, what we're proposing is that modifications, variations from this sign ordinance be by special permit, which is left from the zoning board, which is less stringent than, say, a variance to pursue. So if you wanted to go bigger than what was permitted, if you wanted an additional wall sign, something like that, I guess that could be by special permit.
The avenue for it is a special permit from the zoning?
From the zoning board of appeals, yes.
If you're driving around, you find certain buildings on a
Right.
throughway that's, the sides of the buildings are probably more visible in the front because you gotta be in front of it to see
Yeah.
the sign, but if it's
Right.
50 yards down the street,
True,
you catch it on the side.
right.
Okay, thank
So
you.
you'd be by special permit.
All right,
All set?
thank you.
Council Parika?
Thank you, Chairwoman. So perhaps you could clarify something for me as well, as it specifically pertains to wall size. Are they currently limited? They're currently limited to 1 on the frontage of an individual building.
Correct.
And is it limited in size
Yes.
arbitrarily?
No, so so this is, again, in that table of permitted signs. Wall signs, it's 3 square feet of area of the sign per linear foot of building wall frontage, or 100 square feet, whichever is less. And that's where, if you have no freestanding sign. So we made a distinction. One of the concerns that the planning board had was just the people maximizing the signs they could have. So having the very biggest wall sign they could have and the very biggest pylon sign they could have without any sort of limitation on that in today's world when you go out and get a sign, because we have no regulations. And so that was a concern that the planning board had. So what we proposed was that if you had no freestanding sign, no freestanding pylon sign at that particular site, your wall sign could be bigger. But if
not to exceed 100 linear feet?
100 square feet
100 square
for the
feet.
sign, yeah.
So if you have
Or-
a 6,000 square foot building, you're limited to,
Well, that's per business.
right, so if you're BJ's.
And again, you would come in by special permit to alter it. We can't really, design for every possible iteration. So yes, then you could come in for a special permit. I mean, it's 100 square feet for a wall sign is pretty large. you know.
So may I follow up?
Yes.
Thank you. And are the trade dress colors also classified as, so, you know, every business has trade colors like Dunkin' Donuts, it's hot pink and orange and things like that. So are the trade colors wrapped around a building also classified as a sign?
No, it's just the you know, text of your sign. Your paint colors aren't a part of your sign, absolutely
Because
not.
I think that was an area of confusion, or not necessarily confusion, but that was an interpretation of
If you have a
what was-
logo, your D&D, and your cup or something, that's a sign, right? That's your logo, that's
Sure.
a sign. But your paint colors are not part of your sign, no.
Yes, you
So the way it was described, so you, again, I have to issue my apologies to you
No, that's
because we
okay.
did reach out to one another to try and have a
Yep.
meeting, and then
That's okay.
I flaked on that, so my apologies. I guess the way it was described to me when I was speaking with different department heads with regards to this ordinance, like there's a new Chick-fil-A that's going in down in South Attleboro, one of the new, and it's
Yep.
kind of a standalone building
Yep.
that would be able to have, you know, ideally it would have signage all around its building.
Correct.
And they would have to apply for a special permit for that.
Well, again, if we were to modify this wall sign per frontage, they would have, I don't know if you, I guess they have 3 frontages there, so they would be able to have, I don't know if they have 3 or 4 frontages, actually.
I believe it would be 4.
Could be 4,
Yeah.
so maybe on all sides of the building, depending on how that frontage is determined, I guess, but
And
yeah.
who makes that determination?
Well, we would look at the plans, and with the building inspector, I guess we would determine that together. But yeah, so they would have the wall signs per frontage there.
And if I can just go back, that 100, you said 100 square feet? That was
Correct, yeah.
correct. So I guess, like, how did the planning board and you guys come to that size determination?
You know, just like with the rest of this, I mean, we looked at what other communities did, you know, and we came up with a number that we felt was in line with what other communities were doing, in line with the size of businesses and size of signs that, you know, that come in. And also, like I said, you know, with an eye to, you know, trying to keep an eye on the number of signs that there are.
If I may, again, my apologies.
No,
I don't need to be
don't-
hogging the floor this
No,
evening.
don't apologize, this is the time to do it.
So to apply, if I may, just to apply for so you would have to get a special permit or a variance?
A special permit,
And what is the charge to apply for a special permit?
$150.
And so, okay, and are there, like, very strict, are there guidelines set out in front of the zoning board for them to apply towards signs to be able to grant that variance? Because I think that was one of the other concerns, is that there wasn't
Well,
necessarily a listed guidelines as it pertains to this, to signage to be able to grant.
A special permit, those are the standards that are in Chapter 40A. They're the same standards for any type of special permit, the same standards you applied for the registered marijuana dispensary. You know, they're spelled out in Chapter 40A.
Thank you very much.
All set for now? Nope, that's fine. Yes, Councilor.
So I just want to make sure I heard this correctly. So if anybody came in and they disagreed with anything in this, let's say, of these 5 different things, and they wanted to get a special permit to go see you and change it, it's $150 per special permit application, right? Is that what we were just talking about?
The application for a special permit is
$150.
$150. That includes
So
the
if they're-
advertising.
Okay, so let's say that there were 3 or 4 things that one business disliked about this, and they come in. So we're talking, it could be 150 times 4, it's $600.
So because we're only advertising once, we actually subtract 75 for each of those. So it would be 150 plus 75 times 3.
So, but it goes up, so
So,
it'd be
yes.
300 or something, 350,
Correct,
somewhere around there,
yes.
because 75 comes off each one, okay.
But, I mean, I think we have to remember that we don't have a sign ordinance in place right now.
I understand.
So people will,
Can I interject on that?
You may.
when one comes, Gary Eurasian, City's Planning Director for the record, I'm going to correct Stephanie on one item. It would be $150. So if you came in to ask for 5 changes from the sign ordinance, it would be $150.
Thank you.
Let me explain why. If you come in for a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals, and let's just say lots of them are multifaceted. One, you want to build, you need 20 multifamily housing, multifamily development. You need an earth removal permit, and you need a floodplain special permit, and you want a reduction in parking. Those are all unrelated with respect to the ordinance, but they're all part of one application. So there were 4 components: a special permit for housing, earth removal, floodplain, and a reduction in parking. We would charge you $150 for one of those because it's the advertisement, and for the multifamily, so that's $150. For the floodplain, it's just $75. For the earth removal is a separate $75, and for the reduction in parking is $75. Because remember, each one of those also has advertising, but we put that all in one advertisement. But they're all separate. Parking is different from the floodplain, is different from the earth removal, is different from the multifamily housing. In this instance, Councilor Reynolds, if you came in and said, I only have one frontage, but I want 2 wall signs. I also want a pylon sign we get, I think, 200 square feet. I want 300 square feet. I don't know, and something else. It's $150.
Okay.
We don't
You're not going to
slice for every, no, it's just, yeah, but I just want to give you some perspective. There are lots of instances we do that. This would not be one of them, because you're all asking for the special permit from the sign ordinance, whether it's 1 or 6. So I just wanted to give you the perspective that we do that, but it all depends on the complexion of the application. So for the sign ordinance, just want to make very clear, you want 1 or n number of variations from this, it would be $150.
Thank you, that's what I
Okay?
wanted to know.
All right.
Thank you, Gary.
All set?
I am, thank you.
Thank you. Cool.
You're ahead, don't you?
Okay, sure. Yeah, you're right, okay.
Hey, sit down.
There you go. That was good. All right. I think we're on pylon signs, I think, yeah.
Yes, pylon signs, okay. So this had to do with why we would relate the area of a pylon sign, your maximum sign area of the face of the sign, to your frontage versus to the number of businesses. The reason for that, I mean, we stated this at the public hearing, but every sample ordinance that we looked at relates it to frontage, so that's one reason. The other reason, is that, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. But yeah, I mean, every ordinance we looked at relates it to number of, or to the area, to the frontage. Also, you could have, and I think this sort of talked about when you're talking about wall signs, but you could have a wall sign, you could have a very large shopping plaza that has only one Stop and Shop, or you could have a plaza with many, many tiny little businesses. I don't think you would argue necessarily that the Stop and Shop should have just a tiny sign because it's only one business versus the plaza with many small businesses. So that's another perspective on that. And then just to put that in perspective also in the planned highway business zoning district, so like Cardi's, Bristol Shopping Plaza, shops at Mayfair, you could have really 400 square feet of sign area. That's 200 square feet on each side face of the sign. So that's a large, that's quite a lot of area, 200 square feet. In general business, it's 200 square feet, 100 per side. So,
Councilor Blair?
An example would be Ciabras on South Main Street, 152.
that's true. They actually are planned highway business, yes.
That has a very narrow front. The driveway that goes in, their
Yep.
pylon sign is out at the street.
Right.
And does that,
You're right. That would be, again, one of those oddities, unfortunately, that we would, now, I don't know if they have frontage that goes out onto Lamb Street at all. No, I don't think so, or a street there. But you're right, probably they don't have enough frontage that they would be able to maximize that sign area. That's a perfect example of one that is an oddity that we
Would it require a
that
special
would,
permit?
that probably would require a special permit. In this case, they already have an
They already
existing
have it, I
sign.
understand that, but
If they
I
had no
was-
sign and it was a brand-new shopping plaza, they would likely, I think, I believe you're right, that it's just that driveway up with the, Dunkin' with
in
the
and
two
out.
in and outs, yeah. I mean, that would be a perfect example of one that would really merit a special permit based on the,
Okay.
the location and the
Okay,
configuration.
but there is a way around
Again, special permit, yeah.
special permit. I was just curious, and they already have a sign there, and it's not going to get much bigger than that. I
Right.
guess. There's some empty slots there now.
Yes, yeah,
So I was using that as a reference, so,
yeah.
and that would be grandfathered,
That
correct?
sign would be grandfathered, yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all set?
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, Councilor.
Thank you. Just to go back to that, out of curiosity, as the end comment that would be grandfathered in, I thought it was, in the event something, if it was damaged in some way and the replacement cost was 50% of replacing the new, would they then have to apply for the special permit? or
Yes,
something like that?
I believe the language is, yeah, that they would need to.
So if they wanted to replace it as is, it would be, like, without damage, it would be fine. But if there was damage and it cost more than 50% to replace it, then they would have to end up filing for.
Right, I mean, if your house burns down and you want to rebuild it larger than it was, not to its original footprint, and it's non-conforming, you have to file a special permit right now. That's the law through Chapter 40A. So this is quite comparable to that regulation.
So just a point of my own
Yeah.
clarification, if you don't mind. So there's a windstorm and the front of the Seabra side blows off. To replace it, it costs more than 50% of whatever the sign costs. What happens then?
I have to look at the ordinance because I haven't,
Because this is where so to be truthfully honest, this is where my area of concern is as it pertains to this ordinance to begin with. Like, La Salette, they had an accident on a sign, someone came and hit their sign and they had to replace it, and different things happen throughout the city that, just in our discussion here, we've talked about a couple of different circumstances that people would have. It sounds to me like we're having people apply for special permits more often than they would be able to just simply replace their signs,
well,
if necessary.
What this says is any such sign which has deteriorated to such an extent that the cost of restoration exceeds 50% of the replacement cost, as determined by the building commissioner, shall be repaired or rebuilt only in accordance with the requirements of this ordinance. Let's see.
And the requirements of this ordinance would be?
Would be this. I don't know, yeah, I mean.
It would be whatever the new ordinance is now, so that the grandfathered part of it doesn't really apply in that certain circumstance. And if I'm incorrect, please, I'm happy to.
But that's true of anything. That's true of any use of structure, that if it's greater than 50%, then you have to come back and get relief from the zoning board. So if anything, what we're trying to do is the fact that you want to come back, if you want to put back exactly what you want, and let's use the Seabra one, they want exactly what they want again. Whether it's that or anything else that's greater than the 50%, you'd have to come back and get the relief if you want the same thing. Typically, it's a variance. In this case, we're saying it'd be a special permit. So, but again, I want to emphasize that's true of anything. It falls under the 17-6.4, I think it's called restoration. There's a whole section on the non-conforming use of structures and lots that talks about damage. I mean, I can go get the ordinance if you like, and if it exceeds that, then you need to, and you want to put back what you want, the way it is, same footprint, same location. Pardon?
Same design, same square foot.
I'm just saying, if you want the same thing, you'd have to come back for it. Otherwise, you have to, just like anything else, then you have to conform with the zoning ordinance. Or you can ask for the relief. In this case, we're saying the relief would be by special permit, which I think, relatively speaking, I mean, to get a variance, yeah, it's really difficult. We heard the complaint, and we said, fair enough, you're right. I've been living with the sign all this time, And maybe instead of taking the big leap forward, well, we'll work and we'll take the smaller step forward, so the relief would be by special permit.
So let me ask, so I think one of the concerns is, so no fault to the owner, if you would, an act of God, if you would, would that be the same thing that could happen to a homeowner? Would it be applied the same way? So let's just say, they get hit. Wasn't the owners of the sign's fault that somebody else destroyed it? And I guess is the parallel that you're making is that would also go throughout any discussion we would have about a house, say for instance, I don't know, if somebody drove.
Yeah, that's the most sacred thing. That's what we said. Your house,
okay,
whether by natural disaster or by fire. And let's just choose that, right?
Okay.
You'd have to come back before the board. And I will tell you, if that's the case, I'm using the Sierra case sign again, a natural disaster comes, a hurricane knocks it over. I mean, the board's not going to say, "Ooh, good, now we got you. We're going to have." No, of course they're going to. Yeah, I don't want to compromise the spirit of a public hearing, but we work with people on those. So if you want to come back and put the same sign on, no one comes in opposition, and the most likely finding we're going to make, the fact that you're all familiar with it because we just went over this last week, is will the proposed activity have a severe or undesirable effect on the neighborhood, right? Well, we all know where that is on South Main Street. It's a densely residential area. That's how that's how everything is there. So I can't imagine someone coming and saying, I'm in opposition. But even in that case, again, it's not a popularity contest. It's up to the board to use its judicious experience and say, you know what, it's probably not going to have that. Remember, the word is severe. It's not just will it have an undesirable effect. Well, if you can demonstrate that it's severe, because let's say, I don't want to pick on their sign, any sign, you've had this red sign, if you remember from Seinfeld, from that chicken sign just blaring, and Kramer couldn't see anymore. I mean, if you've got that, right, even with the shades down, that's a severe undesirable effect. But we're accustomed to the signage. So what we're trying to do is bring some regulation, reduce the amount of garishness, and if you want to deviate from it, absolutely. Rather than doing a variance, let's do it by special permit. I think only two really apply. The first one, is it allowed in the table of use regulations? Yes. One has to do about overloading municipal services, sewer, drainage, and water. That wouldn't apply. The fifth one has to do with special regulations. That won't apply. The sixth one has to do with research and development. That won't apply. So it's really two. Will that have a zero undesirable effect on the public environment, and whether or not it's in the table of use regulations? And I think the zoning board, is very fair in administering the ordinance to that effect. So using your example again, if that fell down, again, without compromising the spirit of a public hearing, but using my experience, I suspect that the Board of Appeals would probably grant them to put the sign back up the way it is. And it makes it that much easier through the special permit process than the variance process.
Right, and I think that's why, yeah. And thank you for that, because I think that was, at least for me, I don't know about a very clear understanding of what the process would be, and that I think that's one of the things that people had concerns with is that it was too restrictive. And this sort of opens the door for a little bit more, I'm going to say, commonsensical approach to these kinds of things that might happen.
Yeah, and as I said too, at the risk of not advocating, is we get calls from the engineers and designers all the time saying, what are your regulations like? They tend to conform to the regulations of the community, so I don't really see that many special permits coming along. We'll know with time, with the test of time, and if it happens, and we've always said this, if for whatever reason you get feedback from your constituents, we get feedback from the general public that it's restrictive, we always said this, we'll be right back here modifying it so that whether it's restrictive or I'd like to think we're going to say, wow, you know what, remember site plan review, and everyone was afraid of site plan review. It's one of the best things we ever did. The feedback has been tremendous, and one of the things I said back then was all the questions that we used to get regarding flooding and displacing water from one property to another property. Do we still get? Of course we do, but clearly not as much as we used to, because there's a review process that goes through the planning board that we never had before, that takes a look at those and fixes those, and it works for everybody. It's a better product for the developer. It's a better product for the community. So I'd like to think this is going to do the same thing. Is at some point, if there is issues, we'll fix it. We'll fix it. Why wouldn't we fix it? Why wouldn't we fix it? So, but like I said, one of the fixes, now no pun intended, is we're more than happy to go with the special permit to modify rather than the variance process. So,
President Cook?
Thank you. I did want to thank Gary for Stephanie, for coming in this evening, but in part just kind of reinforce a little bit your reference of the site plan review. Brings back a lot of memories. I remember being among the early advocates of that, and I remember the opposition to it. But I'm finding myself now, as I'm winding up my career, as entering into like that senior statesman category. That, you know, I first started in this business, I was in my 30s, and now it's 3 decades later, almost.
You're in your late 30s now, right?
Yes, exactly. Following Jack Benny, right? But one of the things that I have found relative to the zoning board in terms of like, and I totally understand the concerns about regulations and so forth, but from having appeared before, having served on the planning board for a decade, but then having appeared before the zoning board, sometimes the planning board, as well as the conservation commission, with constituents sometimes on issues. Or in my own case, having to apply for a variance and a special permit. I have found that those boards, and a lot of the credit, you know, goes back to the way that office is run. They are very good at working with the applicant. Try to figure out what is best for the city, but also what's best for the applicant. They're not out there to to the applicant, make their life more difficult. I know some of the rest of us have served on some of these appointed boards. Ms. Condi, Mr. Cooper, for example, Ms. Hall, anybody else. I'm sorry for missing anybody. But I think we can rest assured that they, like us, have the best interests of the city in mind, and they want to do things that are in the best interest of the city and its residents. And therefore, you know, if something needs fixing, they're very good at coming back and saying this needs to be tweaked. But I think you can rest assured that this is not going to become something that I don't believe is going to be oppressive. It's something that is going to, is a means to be able to address any concerns that we have. And again, the fact that these boards are looking out for the best interests of the city and the applicants, I think is a benefit to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know this as well as I do. You legislate. At any point, you could always repeal. You can always repeal.
And I think that's one of the things we discussed when we kind of went back and got the second removed, is to give an opportunity to see if we could come up with a compromise of some sort and to be, you know, open to some changes. And I appreciate the fact that you've been open to the changes. So that's good. So I think we have one more sign to talk about, window signs.
Window signs, okay, last but not least. There was a suggestion that window signs should not be regulated. If the council doesn't want to regulate window signs, you know, that's fine by us. We would suggest, save the best for last. We would suggest that just a simple fix for the ordinance that you have in front of you. Window sign, again, appears in that table of permitted signs. There is a bullet that says not to exceed 30% of window area in which they are displayed. We would just delete that. Window signs would be permitted in all the zoning districts except for single residence and general residence. If you want to permit them in single residence and general residence, I mean, I would caution, at least certainly in the single residence, but that's what we would suggest. Okay.
Oh, Stephanie, thank you. I really had a huge problem with that, and I think during the public hearing and at other times I referenced the bodega across the street where their windows are you can see out them, you just can't see in them, and for security reasons, I understand why they do that. Right. And I think that, you know, regulating the outsides to the outside signs so that it is, you know, visually pleasing to the individuals that are walking around outside, but to regulate what's happening inside someone's store, I think that's a bit of a stretch. And I think, you know, remanding it to, you know, 30% of a window like this, I think that was really kind of an overreach. So I'll be making a motion to strike that bullet at some point in time. So thank you very much for that. That makes me very happy.
And that's
Anybody
it.
else have any questions, any comments? Anything?
Nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Did you want to read your last little paragraph, or do you want me to read it for you? Go ahead, you read your last paragraph under number 6, and then we'll take a vote.
So this is the language that we proposed for the special permit process. It really follows another section of the zoning ordinance, which is how we deal with buffer yards and screening. It's pretty much the same language that's in a different section of the zoning ordinance. So, but it would be a new section 17-16.3, administration. A, the contents of section 17-16.0 signs establishes sign standards that satisfy the general intent and purposes established in 17-16.1 intent and purpose. Though they are intended to establish parameters, they may be flexibly administered given the diverse and disparate nature of signs. Due to particularities of any sign or cluster of signs, and as there are a variety of types of land uses and the relationships between them, the application of the standards herein may result in, for example, a cluster of signs with either ineffective, insufficient, or excessive regulation. Therefore, the Board of Appeals may permit variations by special permit. Without limiting the generality of Section 17-16.3 administration, the Board of Appeals may allow variations from the sign regulations herein by special permit if it finds that such departure is more likely to satisfy the intent set forth herein. B, whenever the Board of Appeals allows or requires a variation from a standard set forth herein, it shall specifically reference in the special permit the requirements that it imposes and also state the reasons for allowing or requiring such variation.
Does anybody have any questions? So that was the second part of this, so we're going to vote on two things, really. The first thing is we're going to vote on those amendments. Go ahead.
So, I think first we have to vote the amendment.
Right, we have to vote on the amendments, so that's good.
And then the ordinance says.
Exactly. So just to clarify for everybody, and thank you. So there's a two-part vote. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for all in favor of accepting the amendments 1 through 5 as stated. Oh, yes.
If we could call Stephanie back. Stephanie, Part B was not clear to me. You said it was the reason why. But if you could reread that for me, please.
B is basically what calls out the special permit, as opposed to like a variance, for example. So whenever the Board of Appeals allows or requires a variation from a standard set forth herein, it shall specifically reference in the special permit the requirements that it imposes and also state the reasons for allowing or requiring such variation.
Well, that's consistent with what they currently do, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
I just have a question. Would it be appropriate for us to put somewhere in here that we would check back on this within a year, 6 months or a year, so that we actually know what happened and how many people might have had an issue with it? So if we pass it, we don't forget, you know, we're just leaving it out there, but maybe we come back and say with, Gary, you want to answer that for me?
Yeah, so, yeah.
You know, that we determine a time, I mean, maybe it doesn't have to be written, but I'm suggesting.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, what we could do, I mean, we're at the end of the calendar year, so if you want by the end of, say, by December 31st of
the next
2018,
yeah.
we report back to the city council on any special permit applications, how many.
Complaints or anything that we might have gotten in.
Absolutely, we'd be happy to do
I think that would be good for us then to review and
To like
say,
monitor the.
monitor the action of it, I think
course.
would be wise.
Okay, so Councilor, all set?
So that's all, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Hooper?
No, I was just going to say, if the ordinance is a problem, Gary won't let us forget. I don't necessarily think we have to.
You have, you know, we always say, if there's an issue, trust me, we'll be back here.
Yeah.
I'm glad, I think Mr. Cook said,
Yeah.
we're doing it in the city's best interest, and if it turns out that it's not a good idea, we think it is, we'll be back to either, I know Mr. Conti pointed, you're right, you could repeal, and I hope it doesn't come to that, I doubt it's gonna come to that, but if we need to tweak it, and instead of 200 square feet, we find it needs to be 300 square feet, right, because that happens to be the norm, and why make people keep coming back for special permit and board, of course we'll tweak it, of course.
President
Thank you. No, I agree with Councilor Reynolds in terms of having them report back, but I would suggest that, given by the testimony of Mr. Orasian right now, that we not put it in the ordinance that if he says he's going to do it, because if we put it in the ordinance, a year from now or more, you're going to be having a joint public hearing in the planning board to remove that sentence. So it would be just as well just to leave it as it is, that way we don't have to go through spending taxpayer money to advertise something just to take out sentence that no longer is applicable, when they can just provide that information to us. And again, knowing Mr. Asian and Ms. Davids, if there's a problem, we're gonna hear about it long before that, or you will hear about it long before that, so.
Does anybody else have any questions? Thank you so much for all the, I mean, this is great questions, because I know there's a lot of angst, you know, with the business owners, and we want to make sure they're taken care of.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So this is actually a two-part vote. The first part would be to accept those amendments that we've talked about here, 1 through 5. So I'm going to, you've already seconded it, and I'm going to call all in favor.
Just before we do it,
Do you want me to read the vote?
No, I don't. I'm okay with it. My question is, the only thing we amended was the part about the special permit. Everything else we left the same. And at some point, Council Perica will do her thing about window signs. Is that right?
No, that's not true.
No. There was the 5
For example, when we talk, if I may, I'm sorry.
Yes, you may.
Regarding the wall signs, remember? Regarding the window signs, so we said we're not going to regulate the window signs, so it's those amendments too that we have to modify.
Okay.
So it's at least the number of wall signs, so we said instead of just one, you get one per facade, or frontage side. The other one is the allowance of no regulation on window signs, so we got to make those edits too.
Okay. So I think we should.
Right, it's just those two in the special permit, and the special permit, that's
That's what we're
right.
voting on, the amendments.
Yes, but I think, for my own clarity, being on the committee, just reading each of what you're going to amend, which is what I think you have there. We know, we've read the ordinance, so just the amendments, and then vote each one of those amendments, and then the motion as amended. Is that right? I'm looking at you, Frank.
Oh, I thought you were looking at her, I'm sorry.
No, I think, I mean, will it make more clarity to you to do it that way?
I think you'd have it.
Yeah, I just.
Okay, I mean, we could just go over them again. Can we go over them very quick? And that's to fine, I want everybody to understand.
That's kind of on a point of order.
Yes.
So, just so I make sure I understand, I follow what you're saying. So the motion that side is going tonight was the first of the two that are here.
Yes,
So this one is just dealing with those 5 points.
that is correct.
So at this point, what we're gonna be doing is, correct me if I'm wrong, Scuba, you're looking to have an individual vote on the 5 items that we're adding in there, amending or whatever. And then after that, after that matter is taken, 3. After that matter is taken care of, then, Councilor Hall, then you'll be to that second part. That's the last.
Yeah, it's written as one, but that, I have no problem voting on
So
every
that's
one
gonna
of
be
them.
as 2 separate, so that'll be a separate motion also.
Well, it's really
So the first
not-
one, you're gonna do the separate little parts, then it'll be the motion as amended,
Right.
right? So this one, okay, got it.
Well, actually, it's written as one motion to accept all of those amendments that we just discussed.
I'm okay with that too, but I would just read them.
Yes, that's what I thought we were going to do. So could you read just the ones that we're going to amend?
So the first one.
This is what we're voting on. We're voting.
If I may, my understanding was that the first one is to adopt,
The amendments that we just discussed.
right, and then this, so you're not doing 2, you have on your list 2 separate motions.
There are 2 separate motions. So the first one is
I thought you
to,
said you were combining them. You're gonna have 2 separate motions.
No, wait a minute.
One motion for the amendments.
one motion is for the amendments,
Right.
and the other is for the administration, which talks
Okay, got
about.
it.
That's right.
That's what I thought. I just wanna make
Okay.
sure we're doing that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Okay? All right.
Just as a point of order, will you read that? Okay.
Yeah.
She's gonna.
Okay, I think, are we good?
Yeah, don't go yet.
And wait, you
guys don't go yet.
We'll see.
So I'm going to read them, I'm just going to read everything from the 5 points, and within that, you'll see what's been amended. Okay? All right, here we go. Just for a little recap. So the geographical overlay,
No amendment.
excuse me?
No amendment.
No amendment there. Flashing and animated signs,
No amendment because we said it's already in the ordinance as written.
perfect. Wall signs, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so wall signs, we're amending.
And do you want us?
Do you need to know what the amendment you want?
I
Ready
think
there?
we should just read it into the record what the amendment is.
Okay. So go ahead.
Okay, so under wall sign, Section 17-16.8, Table of Permitted Signs and Dimensional Regulations. Wall sign.
I can read it right here. It's to allow one wall sign per square footage per business, and that the ordinance can be amended in the table of permitted signs as following. One of the following signs shall be permitted per square footage per business.
Second.
Per street frontage per business.
Got it. Per street frontage per business.
So per street frontage would be inserted into the existing
Correct.
language.
Okay, so that was
Second.
second. And all in favor?
Well, any other discussion?
Any other discussions?
If I may, just for my own personal clarity as we move forward, if you could just read that just one more time,
Yes.
so that the proper language is utilized in it the way it's supposed to be, just so that I'm clear, so that when it comes up next week, I don't have a thing to say.
Right.
Go.
All right, so, to amend the ordinance in the table of permitted signs to allow one wall sign per street, frontage per business.
Correct. Second.
Okay? All in favor? Okay. There we go. Okay, pylon signs.
No change.
No change. Window signs. There we go. All right. To amend the window signs by removing the language about without coverage and offers the following modification in the table of permitted signs language shown. So we're going to strike that out. So the amendment is to strike out the window signs.
So we would leave window sign in as a sign type, but we would eliminate the language.
Right, not to exceed 30% of window area in which they are displayed. So that's being stricken out.
Yep, so just so we're like
Read it.
obnoxiously clear,
Yeah,
would you just read that?
I will.
The amendment
Yeah.
from the beginning?
See-
And then I'll second, and we can have some further discussion.
Yes, okay. So and I'm sorry, and I apologize because these were not written as separate motions. So I'm here fuddling around trying to figure out how to say them as separate motions, all right? So making a motion to amend the table of permitted signs to strike out the language under window sign that says not to exceed 30% of window area in which they are displayed.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, any questions?
Just a comment. Thank you for doing that. I know we weren't prepared to do it that way.
No, that's
but
okay.
I think
You've gotta be flexible.
if we don't, they'll be all over you.
Nope.
Or all over us tomorrow, so.
And deal with it next
Just I think the best way to do it is to take them individually, vote.
Absolutely.
And then as amended, and then do your special permit stuff after.
Yeah. Okay, so those are the amendments. That's the first part of the vote.
Did you
I
also want to
seconded, we
read
gotta
the
vote.
special permit again, or you're good with that?
Nope, because we have to then vote the second part, which is the special permit.
We gotta vote that last
We gotta vote
amendment.
this first.
So that's what we're done
We're just
with.
voting
the-
on this one right now.
You haven't voted.
Yes, we haven't voted yet, so all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I know where I'm at, but everybody, keep up with
How are
me.
you all
No,
doing?
I'm keeping up with all of you, thank you. Okay, so that's the first part.
Got it.
We're done with that.
So now you're back to the main motion as amended.
Right, okay, so I,
And you already have a second.
gotcha. I entertain a motion to adopt the following amendments of the zoning ordinance in accordance with general laws, Chapter 40A, Section 5, and Section 17-1.6, amendments of the zoning ordinance as just discussed,
Yeah, as amended.
as amended. Yes,
Second.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now can we move on to the second one?
Yes.
Thank you. We're good, all right. So the second one is insert section, I'd like to make a motion, I entertain a motion to insert section 17-16.3 administration and renumber accordingly. A, the contents of section 17-16.0 signs establish sign standards that satisfy the general intent and purpose established in section 17-16.1 intent and purpose. Though they are intended to establish parameters, they may be flexibly administered given the diverse and disparate nature of the signs. Due to the particularities of any sign or cluster of signs, and as there are a variety of types of land uses and relationships between them, the application of the standards herein may result in, for example, a sign cluster of signs with either ineffective, insufficient, or excessive regulation. Therefore, the Board of Appeals may permit variations by special permit without limiting the generality of Section 17-16.3 administration. The Board of Appeals may allow variations from the sign regulations herein by special permit if it finds that such departure is more likely to satisfy the intent set forth therein.
Second.
Okay. And B,
Oh, I'm sorry.
we want to vote that one first?
No, I'll withdraw till you get to B, I'm sorry.
Thank you. And B, whenever the Board of Appeals allows or requires a variation from a standard set forth therein, it shall specifically reference in the special permitting the requirements that it imposes and also state the reasons for allowing or requiring such variation.
Second.
Second. Are there any questions, comments, concerns? Come on, somebody. We're good? Mr. Dennis? You can't talk. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. Thank you. And so that is all I have for the Zoning and Land Use Committee. I'd like to close at 8:22.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 8:22, we are done.
Thank you.
And before, can I just, I know I just closed it out, but, so before we go on to the big council, could you just make sure there's a document? And if you, and I think what would be helpful is that if the sign ordinance itself, you showed where these changes were, so I can get it out to everybody.
You want a final version with these three?
With the changes, yes,
sure.
so and they can see where the changes are, so that when it goes to the...
Two, a clean one and one with the
That would be great.
strikeouts. So
That way there's no confusion.
We'll give them to Linda, and then she can, yeah, sure.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll label one tracked and the other one untracked.
Absolutely.
So, okay.
Yeah, and we can get that out before.
Like we do an open space and a
Yeah.
site plan review
Right.
and everything.
Thanks for all the help, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Other amendments.
Like a yo-yo.
All right, I'd like to call ordinance elections legislative matters to order at 8:23. And I would like to officially welcome Councilor Dolan to the Ordinances, Elections Legislative Matters Committee. Great to have you. All right. So I'm going to be striking quite a few things from the docket, and as I do, there's a lot of general comments, but I think with anything that's being struck here tonight in any committee, it can always be introduced again. I think that as time goes on, things kind of need to be looked at and tweaked a little bit. So first up, from the docket of August 15th, 2017, I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of August 15th, 2017, to amend the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, Section 1-9.1, Time and Place of Municipal Council Meetings, amended 10-113, striking the following measure. The regularly scheduled meetings of the Municipal Council shall be held on the first and third Tuesdays of each month. Said revisions to take effect January 1st, 2018.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Hegney. With all these, I feel what, with some of these, with the new council coming in, new administration, we might have an opportunity to take a look at the rules and procedures of the council again. I know that it was done relatively recently. Mr. Conti, I do want to thank you for bringing in these motions. I know you put a lot of thought into them. I just think at this point, it would make sense to strike them from the record, take a look at it, and if deemed appropriate, bring them back next term. Councilor Conti.
So, Councilor Dilcio, thank you for calling me today and telling me about this. I think that was very professional, and we're not on the same committee, so we can talk about them. And during that conversation, I revealed that in the next term, since I'm reelected, I plan to push very hard for the next council to revise the rules and procedures of the council. And so whoever is going to be in their chairs after January, and the dust settles, and we get into that February, March area, all this is coming back. So be prepared. It's all coming back. Given that, I can understand why you want to take it off the docket so that you're relinquishing, because you don't know what chair you're going to be in next term, and you're right. I mean, the Massachusetts legislature does this too. At the end of every term, they wipe out every bill. Every January, 6,000 new bills go in, and they throw them in the mix, and they give them consideration, and at the end, they all get wiped away.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad process. It's not in our charter, but it's a good procedure. There is a lot of thought that was put into this. I mean, these 4 motions that you're going to strike tonight were not willy-nilly. I think that Attleboro benefits from each one. And I'll be pushing very hard in the next rules and procedures that these get incorporated in some manner, because I think it makes a better council, and that's very important to me. The rules that we have to follow and the conduct of the councilors in their deliberation is a very, very important thing. How we look to the public and how we look to each other and how we respect each other and how much work we do to get it done is very important. So I'm not going to comment on the rest of the motions. I think you should look at them carefully because they're all coming back next term. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Councilor. I appreciate the sentiments. Any other questions, concerns on this? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. From the docket of August 15th, 2017, I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of August 15th, 2017, to amend the Attleboro Municipal Council Rules of Procedures as follows. Article 3, Section 1, Regular Meetings, 3-1.1, striking the measure the following measure. Regular meetings of the Municipal Council shall be held on the first and third Tuesdays of each month. Said revisions to take effect January 1st, 2018.
Second.
Thank you. I have no comments. Does anyone else? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Also from the docket of August 15th, 2017, I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of August 15th, 2017. To amend the Municipal Council Rules of Procedures, Section 4, Duties of Council Members, Section 4-4.5 as follows. New business must be presented to the Council Administrative Assistant by the regular meeting where the business is to be presented. When the subject matter of which only affects one ward, the council member from the ward concerned shall be notified by the sponsoring council member and the afforded opportunity to be its co-sponsor.
Second.
Thank you. Any conversation, questions, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. From the docket of August 15th, 2017, I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of August 15th, 2017, that the Attleboro Municipal Council Rules and Procedures Article 7, Standing Committees and Special Committees, Section 7.1.3, Committee on the Budget and Appropriations be amended as follows, whose purpose shall be to review the city budget, present it to the council for vote within 45 days of mayoral submission, set the city tax rate and tax split annually by the end of the third week in November, evaluating transfers affecting the budget between the accounts of departments, evaluating appropriations, special financial measures, and motions after the budget is approved. This committee will interact with the accounting, budget, and administration, treasurer, auditor, assessor, collector, and mayor's office.
Second.
Second, thank you. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. From the docket of February 7th, 2017, I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of February 7th, 2017, to add the phrase, quote, ride-sharing services, including Lyft and Uber, where appropriate to sections 9-11, 9-12 of the revised ordinance of the City of Attleboro to definition of hackney carriage. Furthermore, to review those sections are written to ensure appropriate inclusion of ride-sharing services such as Lyft and Uber, so those services may be safely provided to the residents of Attleboro.
Second.
Thank you. This was something that I brought in last January. I just want to make sure what we had on the books correlated with what the the new state regulations were. I think everything's in where it needs to be, so it's appropriate to strike. Any other questions, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion passes. Thank you. Let's see, from the docket of August 18th, 2016, I entertain the motion to strike the following item from the docket of August 18th, 2016, in section 5-1.2 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, powers and duties amended 4308, be amended by deleting that section in its entirety, replacing it with the following. The Board of Assessors shall assess tax, estimate the property, the value of property for the purpose of taxation. Board of Assessors shall have all the powers and duties now or from time to time vested by general law or special act in Board of Assessors. The Chief Assessor, under the Administrative Director of the Mayor, not to include assessing of property, shall be the administrative head of the Assessors Department, shall assist Board of Assessors in estimating the value of real and personal estate in the performances of such other duties as the assessors require. Thank you. This one's been there for over almost a year and a half. There's really been no movement. I think that if the need arises to reevaluate this, we can certainly do that, but I think as of now, it's probably best to strike. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. I believe I have one more. Okay. From the docket of November 4th, 2014, I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of November 4th, 2014, legal opinion dated August 15th, 2014, from attorney Brandon H. Moss to Jeremy Denley, relative to the proposed amendment to the Hackney Carriage Taxi Ordinance dated 8/19/14. Thank you. This is just housekeeping. All the other Hackney carriage had already been stricken from the record, so just to clean it up. Any other questions, concerns, thoughts? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. And I would entertain, actually, before I do, I just want to plug, I usually don't do these plugs, but starting this Friday, the Attleboro Community Theater is putting on their annual play. This is A Christmas Carol. My son's in it, so, you know, have to throw it out there for the kid. He's working hard. But it's the first 3 Friday, Saturday, Sunday in December over at the Attleboro Community Theater. They've worked hard. It's a great show. Should be a lot of fun. The Attleboro Community Theater is a true gem in the city, so come on out and see them. That being said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and we are adjourned at 8:32. Thank you.
Transportation.
I call Transportation and Traffic Committee to order at 8:33. Welcome Councilor Dolan to Traffic and Transportation. Also with Ms. Reynolds. My apologies, I went meant to do it the other way. I have a few things, similarly to my fellow councilors, I have some housekeeping things to strike, but we are going to have another conversation. First, from the supplemental docket of November 21st, 2017, I entertain a motion to hold a public hearing on Tuesday, December 19th, 2017, relative to amending section 10-5.2A, prohibited on certain streets as follows. 1, delete Beagle Club Road, both sides of the entire street, including the cul-de-sac, through January 1st, 2018, with mandatory council review at the second regular meeting of September. 2, insert Beagle Club Road, both sides of the entire street, including the cul-de-sac, through February 28th, 2018.
Second.
Thank you. So,
Go ahead.
hold on, I have a couple comments, and then I'll get right to you,
Well,
Councilor
you're going to probably answer my question.
I just might. My intent for this evening was to not relinquish the chair of this committee until we hammered out appropriate language as it pertains to implementing a seasonal parking limitation on Beagle Club Road. To be able to do that, we would have to create the language tonight. I would have to vote it out and call for a public hearing next week. I would have to vote it out out of committee pending no reasonable objection at the public hearing, and we would have to hold the public hearing on December 18th. That's the last council meeting of the year. It's, in our opinion, I did consult with the ward councilor. We can do that because we're not on any committees. And it's too much. It's too aggressive of a schedule. So the reasonable and realistic option would be to call for a new public hearing, to change the ordinance, to push the sound down clause out until the end of February. Simultaneously, we will be working on this we don't have to work on it tonight. I'm going to explain a little bit of it and what my thoughts are for you guys to have it marinate for a little while and then come back with your thoughts and questions on that. But I think that you know, Mr. Cooper and I were in agreement, residents that we've been speaking with, they appreciate that. This will maintain what the parking is in that location until the end of February. And I am very, very confident that we should be able to introduce that new business, get the language down, hold a public hearing the second week of January, and have that voted in front of the full council and have those changes made permanent and put into the ordinance book prior to the end of February. This is not, my recommendation for a seasonal parking ban may not be perfect. There is no perfect solution to this concern. We're going to give this a go and see how it works, and then we'll move on from there. I have had conversations with residents, so this is where I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking for the next time when we talk about this. I would like to institute a potential seasonal parking restriction. The recommendation or the request from neighbors was from April 1st to November 1st, because then that piggybacks on to the winter parking ban. I'll reserve my comments for that, but I'm very much willing to entertain other dates, closer dates, shifting those dates around. I think that would be very reasonable and accommodating here on the council floor. So again, just as a quick repeat, I will ask next, I'm voting out of committee the request for the public hearing to extend the sundown until the end of February. Meanwhile, in that time, we will create that new ordinance. Any questions or concerns? Mr. DeLucio.
Just a comment. I think this is the right move, Counselor. I think that this has been going on so long, and we've talked about it, so, I'm not bringing anything new to the conversation, but I think it's important that we get this thing as close to perfect as we can, because you hit the nail on the head. There's never going to be a perfect ordinance in that ordinance book, regardless what it is, especially this one. But I know the work that you and Councilor Cooper have put in on this, and I think...
And you.
I think that the neighbors understand where we're going, and I've had several conversations with the neighbors as well. You have my full support on this, and even going forward, you'll have my support as well.
I appreciate that, Mr. DeLucio. Mr. Blair, did I answer your question or not answer your question?
Sure did.
He's so sweet tonight. It's kind of making me nervous. I don't even know. Mr. Cooper, did you have anything that you would like to add?
I told you my reputation.
Just to thank everybody that's been involved in this process. I did, we've talked several times today, and to constituent and on the street, and I think my reason to sort of pause was about the language around without any warranted objection at the public hearing. Based on what we've heard lots of opinions about what it should be, and I don't think that for something like this that I could support having that language in tonight to bring next week to be ahead of the public hearing without hearing input from the public about what they want it to be. Also, there have been times when different councilors have not necessarily had, we haven't always been in agreement on what the restrictions should be. It has not been unanimous. And so if we do the public hearing before the two new councilors come in, one of them, quite frankly, lives in an area that is affected by the parking on Clifton Street. So may or may not have something to say about it. And so to afford that counselor the opportunity to hear from people and hear the public hearing and then vote on it, I think it's important to wait to make that happen until, everybody, we're at a full complement and we can vote and move forward and extend until February is in line with doing that based on timeline and what we were able to work out with Linda for public hearings. So thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Cooper. Actually, this was a genius move on your part today, because I was feeling an excessive amount of concern and pressure about us being able to squeeze this through at the very end, and especially the 18th is a rather we still have work to do as a council, but it's also a celebratory night as we say goodbye to some of our favorite councilors as they're moving on and things like that. And to have to maybe not to shirk our responsibilities, because that was not what my intent was, but I think that's a lot to have potential individuals in our audience who are less than enthusiastic about the vibrant nature of what could be this council that evening. And to be able to sit there and say we have to be extraordinarily specific as we craft this language. Prior to it, it was the east side, all around the cul-de-sac, no parking. Like, we have to be very specific because we need to be specific for the public hearing for that particular measure. So I'm very grateful that we were able to have this conversation earlier today, and be able to hammer that all out. Any other questions or concerns? Oh, Mr. Conti.
Yes, I'm really liking what I'm hearing tonight, and I confess that when I suggested sunset legislation on the original measure, I wasn't thinking about the election and new councilors coming in. I apologize for that, but you can't think of everything. I do like the collaboration that you have, and I think your timing and your schedule is perfect. Very, very well done, and kudos for you. I think this is the kind of hard work that I think the council should become famous for, is facing what the issue is, coming up with a good resolution, bringing that resolution out on the floor, and getting it done. Kudos, and that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Councilor Conti. There's been a lot of input. I've asked everybody under the sun. I've had marathon conversations with the Traffic Study Commission, and the same resolutions have been coming up for the last 15 years. This one here with a seasonal is slightly different, and I'm willing to, and hopefully that this council is willing to kind of take this trip with us to see what we can implement, and see if we can, make things work in that neighborhood. So, any other additional comments or questions? I will move for a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye, sorry.
Thank you.
Apologize.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. So that'll be, if I may, just on the 12th will be that'll be our next committee. I believe it's the 12th is our next committee meeting. Thank you. That's when I will have some skeleton language available for us to add and I would like everyone's input on that. Let's see. From the docket of November 22nd, 2016, I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of November 22nd, 2016, delete in its entirety, and replace with the following. 10-3.3 temporary parking rules. The police chief is hereby authorized by the municipal council to prohibit temporarily parking on any street or highway or part thereof of an impending or existing emergency, or for a lawful assemblage, demonstration, or procession, or where public convenience requires it, provided there is reasonable justification for such prohibition. Vehicles parked in places where parking is prohibited temporarily may be moved or under the direction of an officer. B, the police chief is hereby authorized by the municipal council to temporarily waive parking restrictions or prohibitions on any street or highway or part thereof for good cause shown at the request of the mayor or an owner of property on such street or highway, provided that such waiver does not impair public safety for convenience.
Second.
Thank you very much. This was a piece of business that came down, you'll notice, November 22nd, 2016, when we were in the heat of Beagle Club Road, when we implemented the sundown and thing. So this was a potential solution that would provide relief to the residents down there if they were having a party or things like that. But the way, as the traffic chair, I have to look at how an ordinance is implemented citywide, not just as it pertains to a city street. And I've had multiple conversations with regards to this, and it's not something that is enforceable. Like if we lift a parking restriction because a resident asked for it because they were having a birthday party or and someone came along and parked there, you don't have exclusive, like your party doesn't have exclusive rights to the spots on those streets. So it's something that would cause issue with the police department and things, and the ability to enforce. So if it's something that is, that would like to be brought back, again, any of these things that I'm striking tonight can be brought back in the next session. Any questions or concerns? I move for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of November 22nd, 2016, that this honorable body work in conjunction with the Traffic Study Commission, the police chief, the superintendent of schools, the DPW director, the principal of Willett Elementary School, and residents of the neighborhood to address the well-documented traffic concerns in and around Willett Elementary School, including but not limited to the speed limit, creating safe environment for pickup and drop-off of students in this area.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Sarah. At the beginning of the school year, there was a meeting, or, like 2 months ago, there was a meeting between myself, Barry Lacasse, Lance Hill, the administration of Willett Elementary School, and a representative from the police department. This has been referred over to SERPED to see if they could do an analysis in that area to how to increase, decrease, do a better job of managing this. Normally, I wouldn't strike it as kind of a placeholder for this kind of business. I have no problem introducing new business if the results from what comes back from those investigative studies isn't appropriate, but I have the expectation with so many people working on this that it should be something that gets resolved without having to have business in the traffic and transportation to make it happen. Any questions or concerns? I move for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Motion opposed? Motion passes. I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of November 22nd, 2016. An email from Thomas N. Turgeon regarding the speed limit at Willett Elementary School and drivers going through stop signs without stopping.
Second.
Thank you very much. Same comments as previously. Any questions or concerns? I move for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. From the docket of September 2nd, 2014, I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of September 2nd, 2014. The parking options, oh, no, wait. My bad, hold on, I'm holding that. That's a Beagle Club Road situation, so I'm holding on to that one. From the docket of March 1st, 2011, I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of March 1st, 2011. Letter sent by the Moore family residents of May Street to the Municipal Council with their concerns about the following: the high rate of speed of vehicles travel, the allowable size of vehicles on the street, the volume of traffic, the constant backups and noise on the street, the litter people throughout their vehicle windows, including smoldering cigarettes, coffee cups, etc., pedestrian safety on the street. Are the following solutions possible to restrict traffic, at least heavy vehicles, from traveling on the narrow street, to reduce the speed limit or increase enforcement?
Second.
Thank you. May Street is a constant area of concern as it pertains to traffic. So that now is actually a great time to give you a bit of an update as to the conditions in, I'm sure that many of us have gotten phone calls with regards to May Street and Route 1 and 1A and the split and where the new malls are and Angeline Street and things like that. A couple weeks back, the mayor and I met with individuals from DOT, and they did they analyzed the area that in question. It was shortly after, it was just days after they finally completed construction down there. The road has been lined appropriately. There's signage. And they were also completing the installation of the sensors in that area at all the different lights. We were told, it was very clear. It was 2:30 in the afternoon on a Friday, and if you were on Route 1 South, taking the right-hand turn onto 1A, there was a backup that leached into the 2 lanes of traffic that continued down Route 1 South. They were also doing some wall work at the Petco Plaza at the same time. We were told that the engineering company would send a representative out over the course of the week and that weekend to do traffic observation. And he did come back with a review of that area. They did make some small changes to the sensors and to the light traffic patterns. Couple of the concerns, and one that kind of really gets me, quite frankly, is that when we had the public hearing with regards to Angeline Street and widening that, it was really sold that would be a great alternative for May Street. Unfortunately, the queue, the lane that you get in to take your left down Angeline Street is this big, where the one for May Street is this big. So if we're going to funnel traffic down Angeline Street, there's not a long enough queue for us to be able to do that. At some point in my life, I might get over that problem, but not right now. And I'm not really sure when the residents of May Street will get over that. Every weekend I get text messages from residents on May Street with regards to the bumper-to-bumper traffic. This weekend, with major concerns as we lead into Black Friday and the holiday season. I don't know if they were away this weekend, but I didn't happen to get any. It doesn't mean that the traffic was any better. The response, I do have a few emails which I'm happy to forward to Linda for all of you to review. I'm not sure if any of you saw them, but the conversation between Superintendent Hill and the engineering company came back saying that they did make some small modifications, but what you see is what you get in that location for right now. So we have new malls down there. We have all sorts of, and heavy traffic. That's what we have for now. I will be striking this piece of business because I have more letters and communications from May Street. I have expectations that I will be introducing new business as we move into the next term with regard to this. It isn't anything that it will ever come off our radar specifically. I think that some of the concerns are the same. We have to, I would like to be able to, we have to apply to the state to have the no-through trucking. So I think that that would be new business that would bring forward to petition the new administration to petition the state to be able to limit trucking on May Street. There are a couple other ideas that we're kicking around to be able to bring a little bit of relief, but you know, we have a great working relationship with DOT right now, and hopefully, you know, the way the lights are set up right now, traffic is moving through. I honestly avoid that area, so I haven't been down there within recent days to see how things have been. But this is going to be a problem, and will continue to be a problem, and I'm not 100% certain of what the solution will be for that. Because even I was requested to reduce the speed on May Street. Well, when it's bumper to bumper traffic,
It's not moving.
that doesn't mean, like, okay, you can't really do anything if it's bumper to bumper traffic. The request has been to install a stoplight at the end of Bay Street on Newport Avenue. Well, that's might be something that we can explore, but again, that backup will continue. Our sight distances turning left from May Street onto Newport Avenue are not very good. It's a struggle. So I'm open to any questions or concerns, but I will be moving this along. Mr. Cooper.
I'm, fine with striking it, but I'm, for the record, I'm terribly disappointed that what we were told would provide relief to May Street by opening Angeline Street and putting that light there and blah, 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 to make that left instead of going down to try to get out and coming back, and vice versa, coming out to that area didn't prove true. As an avid Black Friday shopper, I had a marvelous opportunity to sit in that traffic that was trying to turn left on Angeline Street at the light, but as you said, the lane is this long, and it got backed up, which then backed up Route 1 because people were still trying to make that left, but they were in the travel lane of Route 1 because that wasn't long enough. Right. And at the time, I just attributed that to the fact that there were a lot of people and it was holiday season and traffic and et cetera. But now hearing your comments is a little disappointing. And I'll make calls tomorrow to let everybody know that nobody's happy about that.
I'm grateful to you for that because I've made a lot of phone calls with regards to that, and hopefully having additional phone calls to that will make something happen. It's my understanding that the state required the builder to put in that light on Route 1, and that it's really just, that has caused an exponential amount of extra traffic and delays and backups. And truth be told, I've had the request to send the police down there, have them move the traffic. Okay, well, the police have been down there, and it just got, in their estimation, first of all, it wasn't safe for them. Second of all, it made things worse. So, I'm currently at a I'm at a loss for what we can do at that location, and hopefully moving forward, again, I almost feel like I'm in a Beagle Club Road situation here as well, that there isn't a whole much, currently the request is to let it ride and see how things happen. I do have the expectation, I'll get right with you. There is in the works a complete reconfiguration of that whole area, CVS, D'Angelo's, but that road work doesn't start until 2021. So that's not that far away, but far enough away for it makes it very difficult. Mr. Delizio.
Thank you. Council Preker, I would just ask that if you could just provide constant updates on this, because I know a lot of us are getting calls, and the calls I'm receiving from a family friend who lives on Main Street is, it's adding half an hour to their commute. 15 minutes to get out of their driveway, like, not even an exaggeration, 15 minutes to get out of their driveway, and then another 15 minutes to get back into their driveway. So, you know, the reality is we have to be vigilant on this because there's some decisions that this honorable body made. And if we were, to Council Cooper's point, kind of sold a bag of goods, we need to make sure that we can rectify the situation.
And I think that that was the high point of our discussion, and we spent a significant amount of time during the public hearing discussing that as it pertained to Mayfair. And here we are. It has done the exact opposite of what they told us it would do. So I'm not very happy about that. Anybody else? I will move for a vote. All those in favor? Oh,
So I was just gonna say, I live down there, so you can't tell me anything I don't already know. I don't think there's ever gonna be anything they can do to rectify what's going on down there, because there's just too many shops for the amount of space that they're in and the amount of traffic that comes not just from uptown, but from Pawtucket, from Rhode Island. You know, I mean, you just get a tremendous, you have to be like me, innovative, and know every back road from here to Rentham, and I do know them. So when you know them, then you're all right. You get off there and you can move pretty quickly. So I think that residents know the back roads. It's the people that don't know really where they're going. And from what I've heard, Waze and I can't think of the other traffic help that supports when you're in traffic, that they're going to start shutting those down and not be able to put the side streets on. Did you hear that? That's the new, so that if you have it on your phone, you know, when you're checking and you don't really know the area, that there has been some complaints from neighborhoods that they're having those side streets shut down so that you can't see them anymore. So I suggest you start weaving in and out around that area and figure out best ways, because it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. And I just don't know what you could possibly do. I mean, there's no place to possibly add. You can't, the more lights you add down there, the more you back up traffic, because you're only giving people a few minutes to move forward. The light changes, but people are always sneaking through the yellow light. So, you know, you're blocked before you even have a chance to get anywhere further. And that goes for, as we were talking, La Salette, it goes for the Rentham outlet, anywhere that has a short span of mileage with the amount of retail space that we have. There's just no real solution. There never will be, as far as I can see. It's too bad, because there's a lot of people down there. That was farmland. You know, they never, ever in their wildest dreams thought it would turn out to be what it is today. And those are the people I actually feel bad for. Because, I mean, even in the 30 years I've been here, it's like night and day. And I grew up in North Attleboro, so if I take it back 50 years, it's that Route 1 doesn't even, you know, it doesn't even look like it used to, you know. So I think, yeah. I think you venture out onto Route 1 now, you know you better have an hour or two of spare time, because you're just not going to be able to move at the kind of pace you'd like to. It's not going to happen, ever.
My sympathies are with the residents of May Street too, because where you may have the luxury of being able to zip around some back roads, they can't even get out of their driveway, or even in their driveway. You know, the individual that I've been speaking with on a regular basis, he has young children, and it would be almost easier for them to put, like, there was a bathroom emergency, and it would have been easier for them to pull over and walk to their house than it would have been to wait, which would have caused even more of a back rub. But at the same token, and then people are rude. Rude to the individuals that are trying to get in and out of their driveways. Like, it's the holiday season. Can we just exercise a little common courtesy and have compassion to those of us who live on the street, and imagine if it was your house? That's all I'll say about that one. So I move for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes. I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of March 1st, 2011, to reduce the traffic by making May Street a one-way and Angeline Street a one-way of the opposite direction, to reduce the amount of vehicles turning onto May Street from the southbound left turn lane or route number 1 south, and to refer this matter to the Traffic Study Commission for recommendation.
Second.
I think we've talked that to death. Any other questions or concerns? I think the cat's out of the bag on us making Angeline Street a one-way as well, so. I move for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. The motion passes. I call for an adjournment at 9 o'clock. Can I have a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. And we are adjourned.
I'm done.
Everybody ready? Oh, okay. I thought we just got on.
No, just we're going by the few orders on this.
What are we doing?
It doesn't matter, go ahead.
Just go.
Yeah, it's okay.
Just look at the agenda, that's
Just
all.
go ahead.
Okay. I call to order the Licenses Committee at 9:01. I have 5 items from the docket of December 5th, 2017. I entertain a motion to approve the application for a 2018 renewal automatic amusement coin-op license from the Portuguese American Club, 65 Prairie Avenue, Attleboro, Mass.
Second.
Thank you. It's just a jukebox and a pool table. Any comments?
No, ma'am.
Questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
From the docket of December 5th, 2017, I entertain a motion to approve the application for a 2018 renewal automatic amusement coin-op license from JR's Bar and Grill, 147 Pine Street, Attleboro, for 2 pool tables and 1 jukebox.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
From the supplemental docket of November 21st, 2017, I entertain a motion to approve the application for a 2018 renewal Class 2 auto license from Best Buy Automotive and Tires, Inc., 925 and 931 Washington Street, Attleboro, Mass., with 4 customer parking spaces and 20 display spaces.
Second. It's your turn.
I'm sorry.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, I was looking at the next motion.
Hey, don't skip ahead.
Sorry, give me a head.
Look at, she's one of us already. Look at that. That was great.
I thought he was just trying to give me a hard time. From the supplemental docket of November 21st, 2017, I entertain a motion to approve the following application for a 2018 renewal Class 2 auto license from State Line Auto Brokers, Inc., 115 Washington Street, Attleboro, Mass., for 6 customer parking spaces and 42 display spaces. I believe there will be comment.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments?
Yes.
You have to choose who gets to go first.
I don't know who was first. We'll go with Council Parika.
Thank you, Chairwoman Dolan. I have had some experience. I think we discussed it briefly. I requested a police detail to come with me to visit State Line Auto Brokers prior to your swearing in and taking over the license committee. When I went down there to visit, they are in clear violation of their permit, their lot layout. They've 125 cars. So in my conversation, or extra, parked in an area that is not designated on their lot layout. When I spoke to the owner of the gentleman who runs the place down there, I gave him a couple of options. I said, you can either have a new engineered site plan created and have it submitted to the council as an amendment to your application. You can move the cars and call your attorney. I am not in support of approving this application for renewal. They are not in compliance right now. They have made no steps to become into compliance. It is a chronic problem in that location. I am happy to return there with police assistance to double check on them and give an update. I'm happy to vote this out of committee this evening so that I can come back to you next week with information and either vote it up or down and have him reapply. I don't have the expectation he's done anything that I have requested of him in that location.
Okay. Councilor Conti?
So I have a slightly different opinion, that I went there one rainy night, pitch black, no moon, and walked right in alone and met with Tom, a salesperson, gave him my council card, told him I was there, and he knew about the second lot behind, and I asked permission to drive through it. He gave me permission to drive through it, and I drove through it 3 times because I couldn't believe the number of cars that were in there, and I tried to count them and lost count. Went through the lot into state line scrap and was stunned at what was going on, remembering what we put Courtesy Auto through 4 years ago when they wanted to expand their parking lot across the street near, I forget the name of that street. And we were talking about brand new cars, and the planning department was concerned about the water management on that lot and the requirements that parking lots must be paved, must have runoff water systems that have oil retaining equipment to protect the groundwater from cars being parked on fresh dirt. And here, where I am at State Line Auto Brokers, there's 150 used cars on dirt without any approvals, and I was quite surprised by it. So I approached the zoning enforcement officer, Bill McDonald, and asked him if he was aware of the situation down there. He said that he had heard, and I asked him to visit, and he said he would. So I expected the building inspector to go down there and see an illegal car lot. I'm going to vote no in passing this out to the council because this is another example of a long line of State Line Auto Brokers refusal to obey the city ordinances. And in this case, I think they were thinking that it's easy to seek permission, that it is approval. How does that say?
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness,
over
right.
permission.
Thank you. So it's easier to seek forgiveness than permission. I say no. No. You've gone one too many times. It's broken. So I don't feel that the committee should send this into the council. That State Line Auto Brokers should not have their Class 2 auto license renewed. And I'm eager to hear from the building inspector on what his discovery was in his visit. And that concludes my comments.
Councilor Cooper?
Thank you. I'm not on the committee, so I'm in favor either way the committee decides, but I will not support a 2000, and I would encourage all of my councilors to do the same, not support a 2018 license if you can't do what you're supposed to do in 2017. It's not a new thing for them. Not only did we run Courtesy Motor Group through the old-fashioned washing machine and nearly, and his issue was a bit unique in that he was buying the property next door and he couldn't design the stormwater management system till he owned it, and he couldn't do perk digging in the lot, he didn't own it, and et cetera, et cetera. And so and this is on dirt, and State Line, the new State Line, all of you that were here remember the exorbitant amount of money that they have invested in stormwater management systems for that property to manage it before it went into either the road or the water nearby. They've spent a ton of money. They keep it up and they do what a good neighbor should be doing for that type of business in a residential area or a mixed-use area. And so I won't support it. And they need to know that, and we need to figure out what the building inspector's outcome of his visit was, and either conform and I would support so much, I would go so far as to say, if he doesn't do what he needs to do, and the building inspector doesn't, revoke his license for 2017. We can do that. That concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Dolan. Just as a response to Councilor Conti, I also met with Mr. McDonough prior to Ms. Dolan taking over the license chair, and there were instances where they did write them up. They were, it would be the most polite way to say they were slightly less than truthful when they were questioned about those vehicles. They said, they're not ours. And they have no way to prove it or not. And when I went there, I said, are those your vehicles? And they said, yes. And I believe that when we spoke about this previously, they said the same thing to you. But for them, they did not necessarily indicate that those were their vehicles. So there is some serious shenanigans going on at this location. I appreciate the fact that you were down there on a rainy night all by yourself. I was there on a rainy day, not all by myself, because I wouldn't recommend, that might be okay for you, even though we are 6 strong women on the council. Not a place I'd want to go by myself. All of a sudden, bad things happen. I would like to, so the reason why I say yes to vote this in the affirmative, bring it in front of the full council with a recommendation to deny. And that completes my comments.
Okay, so this is in my ward, and I know they've been in business a really long time, but I said this last time, it's just unfair for us to approve something when we make everybody else toe the mark, and that's the end of my comments.
Just a suggestion or a question, maybe. If we hold it in committee, if we hold it in committee, they don't have to come before us. If we bring it out on the floor and deny it, they're done as at the end of December.
Right. They can stay in business through, if I may, I'm so sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. They do get to stay in business through the end of December, but their license expires December 31st. So they would have to reapply. They would, either way, they're going to have to reapply, because I don't have the expectation that they're going to all of a sudden stroll in here with a new site plan and be able to fix that. And so they're going to have to reapply anyway. I did have a conversation.
I'm sorry.
Our apologies for hijacking your.
Up to speed on it.
No, I mean, I kind of am. I will be after this conversation, so go right ahead.
I did happen to have a conversation. I know who their attorney is, and I did speak with him very briefly with regards to this, and they haven't even been in contact with him.
If we bring it out of committee, if it's brought out of your committee, it'll come before us next,
December 5th.
Next Tuesday.
Yes.
right, and vote it down. I'm just clarifying this. Then they're officially out of business January 1st.
They would not have a license to sell their vehicles or to store their vehicles at that location, to be a Class 2 dealer.
And at that point, they will have to come back and reapply for a new license.
That would be correct.
Thank you.
So that would give them from December 5th till the end of December to get it together.
No, well,
Right?
Well, they're
No, the
still going to
license
have to
still have no
reapply.
But they would have to reapply in order to, for January 1st, for them to have a license, is that right? Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't be
So they would have 3
feasible.
weeks. Well, feasible for who? They've had all this time.
No, I mean, we're not going to meet. Well, that's what I'm saying. So they're not going to have time. If we vote it down next week, they're not going to have time to come back.
That's what she
Correct?
said.
That's exactly what
Well,
she's
they'll
saying.
have
That's fine.
3 weeks,
They would
right?
have to.
They would have to hustle.
President Cook has his hand up.
No, if I may,
That's this.
their permit is going to expire on December 31st.
That's right.
Period. And which is why we always go through the, the renewal process here. So if we follow Mr. Koenig's lead, for example, and it stays in committee, and we get to the end of the year, and we send it to the water, I think we do need to resolve this one. Excuse me, I think we do need to resolve this. But even if it was to be voted out of committee, if next week the council denies it, again, they'll be out of business on December 31st. And then at that point, the ball will be in their court to actually now reapply and, and comply. So they're going to be in operation until the end of December, no matter what we do or don't do. But either way, if they don't get the license, then they're going to be coming back, saying, hey, how do I get my license? And then we're going to be right back to where we are now. But then at that point, it would be a renewal again. It wouldn't be a new. I don't believe it would be a new one at that point. So no
Wouldn't
public
it be
hearing.
new? It would,
No, if it died, it would become. Excuse me. If it died, it would no longer be a renewal. So they would have to apply for, correct me if I'm wrong, a new permit.
That would be correct.
But that would require a public hearing, whereas a renewal does not. So that gives you the opportunity to actually get all of these things out, out in public at that particular time.
So I'm thinking that if they're wise, State Line Auto Brokers is watching this deliberation by the committee and is on notice that we are not happy with their conformance. And I'm considering laying this motion on the table, which would give them some time to rectify the situation and place their license in limbo. So that if we laid the motion on the table, it means that you would need to take up this motion again at the next committee meeting, which would be after the next regular meeting of the city council, which gives them 2 weeks to give some consideration to straightening out their conformance issues. And I don't know whether or not they're watching this meeting on the internet and listening to our deliberations is enough to motivate them to conform. Because I don't know what the conversation has been with the building inspector, the enforcer of the zoning ordinance. So I'm putting that out for discussion, Madam Chairman, to hear what my fellow committee members, specifically you and Councilor Parika, feel about that concept. And that concludes my comments.
So I'm thinking they're not watching.
Thinking too.
Because if they haven't even reached out to their attorney when they were told to reach out to their attorney, this is their business, and they haven't reached out to their own attorney. Go ahead, Councilor Parika.
Thank you. I'm happy to withdraw my second on this to maintain it in committee. I did speak with the police chief yesterday, and he made me aware. I know that we're, Ms. Dolan and I are in this like weird limbo situation where I've been managing license, and if it's okay with you, it would be something I would like to maintain doing on your behalf. I don't want to send you down there as the fresh kid being like, hey, I'm Laura. It's my second week as a city councilor, and here I am to tell you I'm shutting your business down. So I don't want to have to do that to you. I do have the ability to, the police chief was very kind of generous and said that he would allow me to utilize one of his officers at any given time. I'm happy to, again, withdraw my second.
Okay.
Maintain this in committee. We can bring it back up on the 12th if they haven't remedied this problem prior to the 12th. You could also, go and speak with Bill McDonough or invite Mr. McDonough to come and speak to us at your next committee meeting with any concerns or problems. There is a question of enforcement. Linda and I had a long discussion. He is, Mr. McDonough is typically the license enforcer. However, in previous years, in circumstances such as this, it has been the police department that enforced the license restrictions on that. So I would potentially make the request to have Mr. McDonough come at our next committee meeting on the 12th, and additionally, I can go and revisit them and tell them they better hop on it. If they are motionless between now and 2 weeks from now and do nothing, then we would bring this back out of committee again, and then we would vote it down.
And where would we
I would
be?
have the expectation that we would vote it down for 2018.
Where would we be at that time? What would be the
So the
date?
12th is our next committee meeting that we would discuss this at, and then the 19th is the last committee meeting of the year. Our last full council meeting of the year. Mr. Cook has his hand raised, if you will.
If I may, we can't, I would agree with you, we can't guarantee that they're either watching this on TV or whatever the case would be. But given the fact that you've been down there recently, Councilor Parika, and Mr. Conti, I don't remember the date that you were down there. I think that the problem with waiting for, Mr. McDonough to come in on the 12th is we could be in the very same situation we are now if we want them to try to give them time to clean up their act. So I would respectfully suggest that we follow up with Mr. McDonough as a building enforcement officer. And if he's not the one right now to deal with it, then it would be the police, whichever, again, given that weird jurisdictional situation that we're in. But at least to that point, letting them know now that, that we are aware that they are in violation, they're looking to be renewed. If the situation is not rectified, they are not going to be renewed. And that way, we can follow up, the committee can follow up with whoever is doing the inspection down there, either the police or the building inspector, and then report back on the 12th. Because my concern is we wait until the 12th, nothing could be done, and then at that point, we do have to vote. I mean, our last regular scheduled meeting is the 19th, but we still have 2 weeks left in the term, and the council has sometimes had special meetings after the last regular meeting of the year before the new term takes place. So, I mean, that's, that then could end up happening, not just for this, but for other reasons. But I think I would keep it in, I would suggest respectfully that, with the second being withdrawn, keep it in committee, find out what the status is, now, and then in that case, hopefully have the answers by the 12th, and then at that point, vote it out of committee, we all deal with it on the 19th. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Delacio?
Thank you. First of all, you're doing a fantastic job kind of navigating these waters tonight. As I sit here and I listen to this, I've heard, Councilor Parika went down, Councilor Conti went down. We're all familiar with them because we've had problems with these guys in the past. Why are we working harder than the businesses to get them to conform?
Right.
That's my biggest thing. So even to bring it back just a little more remedially, if my 11-year-old is constantly misbehaving, not doing what Amy and I tell him to do, we're going to take things away. Take things away, Peter. So I don't know. I mean, we always talk about being business friendly, and there's a price that goes along with that, and I think part of that price is, we have to make sure we have the right business. So, okay, let's just say now we go in and we give them all these other chances again. They might do what they're supposed to do because they know we're looking. What's going to happen as soon as we stop looking? I know Councilor Hall, Councilor Parika, Councilor Jackson and I were all working on another relatively similar situation, but it only took one visit from Councilor Parika, and these guys got their act back on track. Sometimes you take your eye off the ball. I get that. But you have 2 councilors go down knocking on your door. To me, that tells me that, what are they doing when we're not looking? And that's really what my concern would be at this point.
No, I agree.
If I might, Laura, I know I'm to your side, you don't see me.
Go ahead, Councilor Bear.
I would vote it out of committee and vote them down myself. They've had, as Jay said, there's a number of chances. You keep warning them, give them extra time. There's no possible physical way you can take a couple hundred cars and get them moved somewhere and believe that they're not coming back, right? And if he had the availability of a storage yard somewhere, they'd have been there. So he's not about to conform, and there's no physical way he can conform in time for us to give them a license for January 1st. So let them come back and reapply with a plot plan, engineered plot plan. If the lot's not paved, can't use it. It's time to put your foot down. Sometimes people will not listen. You've given them enough chance as it is. Never mind being Mr. Nice Guy. It's time to end that. Bring it out of committee, vote them down, let them come back next year with a plan that conforms to the business we expect every other legitimate dealer to do. And I agree with Mr. Cooper about Kia. We ran them through the ringer when in the new place. We ran them through the ringer. And John was a friend of mine, and I know he did things first and asked forgiveness later a lot of times, but he always did them right. You know, he was that type of individual, God rest his soul. These people aren't the right type of, they don't do things right, so they're out of sync as far as I'm concerned. Vote it out of committee, vote it down next week, and the ball's in their park.
A point of order, can't we just vote it down in committee?
Exactly.
So why don't we just vote it down in committee? If we, oh, sorry.
But
Sorry, Dawn.
I don't know if,
Bring it up.
in my opinion, I would vote it out. And God forbid they get 6 votes on the open floor. And then it's a ruling by the council itself. And we're not up to, I had 3 people against me.
Well, I only need 2 to vote it out of committee, correct?
That's right.
Right.
Councilor Cooper?
So I don't, first of all, I don't recommend killing it in committee because it hasn't had the opportunity to be voted on by the full council, so that's one. My second comment is, maybe they're not watching, but a lot of people watch, and I bet they'll know about this if there's not already a message at State Line Auto right now. Thirdly, and if they're not watching, which they may not be, I bet this will be in the paper tomorrow. It's a pretty good, you know, we've been talking about this dealership for quite a while, so I would imagine that's likely. We've had, not to beat a dead horse, but we had 2 counselors go down there. I'm willing to give them the opportunity to fix the problem over the next week or so, but without that next week, I think we go right into, you know, and you could call for a committee meeting. You could call for a committee meeting next week before the regular meeting to get an update, just so we're all updated. I don't know if you'll have one. But
point of order, if it's voted out of committee tonight, then it would have to be dealt with on the floor.
No,
as an
but
update.
if she,
But if she leaves it in committee,
she
she
leaves
could
it.
call for a committee meeting, but that's just a difference, you know.
Yeah.
Is that,
I'll just give my 2 cents. If you realize in the committee members are realizing that this is not a viable opportunity, that there's something wrong with this, I mean, I think it almost behooves you to not to vote it down in the committee, because, you know, the committee is the first, you know, the first step, if you would, then become the council. So, you know, we're sort of kind of going on your advice, and I think what I'm hearing is that this is not a happening thing. And so I think I would say vote it out and vote it down, if that's what you so choose to do.
Councilor Conti?
Yes, so I got what I wanted, a discussion. And it's taken me back to my original position. And I'm conflicted. I thank you, Councilor Delicio, for your comments. I don't have children, and you have experiences that I don't have. But Councilor Cooper, if I may, through the chair, ask Councilor Cooper a question. You seem to feel, you seem to be of the opinion that it's best to put it through the committee and down by the council. And I don't see where that gives it any greater weight than it being put down by the committee. Could you clarify?
Yes, I will, if I may.
You may.
So the reason it does is because what I'm hoping for if they don't comply, is that 11 or 10 of us or 11 of us will say no, versus 3 of us saying no in the committee. That this was vetted by the entire council, and we're all here tonight with the exception of Councilor Jackson, but it tells the applicant for a license that there were X number of individuals on the council of 11 that said no to your application based on these reasons.
Thank you. I would put forth the opinion that if a committee turns it down, that's even more serious. That the recommendations of the committee wouldn't bring it out to the council. Because I agree with Councilor Halls, and I think it's conforming with the rules and procedures, that the purpose of the committee is to vet the issue and to inform the council of all of the facets of the issue in front of the council. If a committee turns it down, then, in my opinion, the message to the applicant is that we're in deep trouble because we couldn't even get it through a committee.
Oh my God, can
And that completes my comments.
Point of order, if I may. But the problem is this, I think that, first off, we've had other times in the past, especially like when we used to have to be dealing with the licensing of taxi cab drivers, where we knew there were issues, and again, all motions come out in the positive way, but in a positive form, but we would then, we would have a similar discussion like this relative to maybe some of the issues, or the police were recommending denial, and then we would vote it down. My concern with if it gets killed in committee, all right, at this point, my only concern would be that if we kill this in committee, and we don't let it come out of committee, effectively they go out of business on the 1st of January, because they don't have a permit to operate. I'm concerned that in this litigious age in which we're living, that they could very well bring a civil rights violation against the city, saying that we are denying them the right. And I have seen other times in my time working in City Hall, or for city government, where we have had people who have brought suit that we are denying them we have violated their civil rights by taking their business away or their means of making a living away. And their argument would be this way: they got their application in on time as required, and we killed it in committee. So we could be putting the city in a potentially litigious situation. So my recommendation would be that as we do, let's face it, and we have had and will have in the future other applicants. We just talked at length about a new one, where we went through the process and then we voted accordingly. That if we don't vote, now we're deviating from our past practice, which I think gives credence to a potential lawsuit. So I think to avoid that type of situation, we deal with the way we deal with the others. We voted out of committee, we voted up or down, we totally vetted it. I think it's very clear that there appear to be problems there that a lot of us cannot live with. Period. Thank you.
One other comment, if I may, Laura, for you.
I think there's a line.
So this will end, I think. We do this all the time, Laura, right? We bring stuff out positive out of the committees, and then when it comes before the council, in question, taxi driver, right? When they get their query, it's brought out positive, and the council votes. A recommendation of the committee to deny when it comes out before the full council. We do it all the time.
Can I say something?
It's your committee.
You're in control.
No. So the way I see it is, it's like kind of 6 of one, half dozen the other. Like if we kill it now, I feel like we want to kill it just for the sake of killing it, and because they've been uncooperative. Call me crazy, but if we vote it out of committee now and vote it down in committee, in the full council, excuse me, if they don't do anything,
Right.
clearly, that gives them 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Tick-tock.
Ms. Dolan, if I may, as the individual who's been kind of managing this circumstance, this is what I would like to see happen.
Okay.
I visited them 2 weeks ago. I gave them 3 options. I haven't been back since. I would like the opportunity to go back one more time to see if they have anything in play, because they are negotiating to purchase that back lot. When I had a conversation with his attorney, that's kind of stalled out. I would like to, I know that we're in a, we're taking the Game Boy away kind of circumstance. However, my recommendation to the chair would be for me to withdraw my second, that we would hold this in committee. We would call for a committee meeting next week at 6:45 where I can give you an update after I go and visit that location again. We can vote it out of committee at that time. You'll be able to vote it down in front of the full council, providing that all of a sudden the earth hasn't turned flat and they've done everything that we've asked them to do. So I think that's more than fair and reasonable, but at the same token, again, I was just there 2 weeks ago. I could turn around tomorrow and there could be a new lot layout and we've already voted it out. We could vote it in the affirmative. I would like that opportunity to visit there just one more time. 3 strikes, you're out. visit, second, third visit, 3 strikes, you're out, and be able to move on with that.
I don't think that's unreasonable.
Okay. Then I make a motion to withdraw my second.
So no more discussion on that? There's no second?
Okay, withdrawn.
You don't need a motion.
I don't need a motion. I just withdraw it.
Just
Done.
Right.
There is no vote.
Okay, and then we get to move on. All right, last one. From the docket of November 7th, I entertain a motion to approve the application for a new Class 2 auto license, from R&D Auto Sales, 116 Dickens Street, Attleboro, Mass, for 5 customer parking spaces and 8 display spaces.
Second.
This was the gentleman that was here last week, if you remember. His girlfriend broke up with him.
It's true. Yeah, we did have a public hearing last week. There was no one who came and spoke in opposition. He's there solely to sell, Class 2 automobiles. There was, he did a good job. I had questions as to why there was a interruption in business. He answered those appropriately, so I'm willing to give him a shot.
Okay, Council Conti?
I was going to say the exact same thing with a slight addition, that you're doing a wonderful job.
She really is.
And that you might be the most impressive freshman counselor that I've seen in my term on the council. Congratulations.
Shucks.
I can close my
Thank
comments.
you. Anybody else have any comments? Anybody else want to?
Now you're gonna raise the bar for the other folks coming in now. They're gonna have to study.
That's right. We have that on tape because that'll kill Todd Kovas. Okay, so any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. That's all I have. So I entertain a motion to adjourn Licenses Committee at 9:37.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
All in favor to adjourn. All right.
We got it. Good. Good job.
I almost
Way to
made it
go,
all the way
Laura.
through.
You did excellent.
I'd like to call Budget and Appropriations to order at 9:37 p.m. From the docket of December 5th, 2017, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to appropriate $500,000 from account 1000-359-000 undesignated fund balance free cash, general government, to the following: $250,000 to account 1152100-517120, personnel health insurance HMO, $100,000 to account 1152000-5172220, personnel workers compensation, $150,000 to account 1152000-5172224, personnel workers compensation fire.
Second.
Due to the open enrollments, permissible qualifying events, we have to have additional funding going to these accounts. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to increase the expenditure amount in Fund 2617 Recreation Revolving Account to $200,000. This, if anyone saw the backup or talked to Dennis, this is coming from Dennis Welch, the director of the Recreation Department, and based upon capital improvement projects, different recreational needs, they're asking for the increase. Any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. That is all for budget and appropriations, and call for an adjournment at 9:39.
Second.
We are all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. I call Public Works Committee to order. From the docket of 9:40. From the docket of December 5th, 2017, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to appropriate $72,466.70 from account 6100-359000- water enterprise fund retained earnings to account 6100-587044 water enterprise fund replace truck for funding to purchase a new Ford F550 diesel 4x4 dump truck with plow package and accessories to replace a 30-year-old 1987 GMC 3500 dump truck.
Second.
Julie's on my committee, and President Cook will be the third.
Oh,
Public
I'm
Works.
sorry.
Oh, that's okay. You've been doing it forever, so. Julie's the second, and Frank is the third on that, so Mr. Cook. Okay. This was in the capital improvement plans also. This is something that was in the capital improvement plans. If anyone has any questions before this next week. I haven't heard anything as of yet. I'm filling in for Chairwoman Jackson this evening. Yes.
Just a positive point. That is the right truck. They're ordering what they need for the job that they're doing. So that other truck, I know when I was on Public Works, was on the last leg then, so.
Thank you for that. I don't know a difference between a F-150, 250, 350, or 550.
550 is pretty heavy duty
So
truck.
this will have all the, it's a diesel, and they did say it's going to be used for the whole water department.
Yeah,
It'll have the plow package also.
if I may, that might even see the city streets because we use another one of their newer dumps on the city street, so it's a good purchase.
Okay, any other comments? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to appropriate $17,500 from account 6000-359000 wastewater enterprise fund retained earnings to account 6000-530101 wastewater professional services regarding the need to replenish funds on a previously expended to pay for an unanticipated infiltration and inflow report that is due at the end of the calendar year to satisfy a Mass DEP requirement.
Second.
Thank you. I know Mr. Cook is saying that we're paying for something that Mass DEP is requiring us to do. So as you can see that, Julie, any other comments? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. Supplemental docket of November 7th, 2017, I entertain a motion to allow Moorings Incorporated leave to withdraw without prejudice relative to the application from Moorings Incorporated 95 Mossberg Drive, Attleboro, Mass. To discontinue a portion of Frank Mossberg Drive in the area of, quote, half, end quote, cul-de-sac containing 7,236 square feet of land, more or less, according to the plan, said premises located on Assessor's Plat number 142, lot number 6B.
Second.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this? All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Motion passes. I call for an adjournment at 9:45 for the Public Works Committee. 9:43, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 9:43 p.m.
I'd like to call it,
What was that, Public Works?
Yeah.
That's Public Works.
Public Safety is
Isn't it?
Actually, city property and claims.
No,
It's me.
city property.
City Property and Claims,
City
isn't
property
it?
and claims.
so I'd like to call to order the city property.
As long as you go
at
after the time, it doesn't have to be
9:44.
exactly in 11.
Okay, 9:44. I
9:42.
am. So I have 6 motions and 3 strikes. From the docket of December 5th, 2017, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to declare the following Attleboro Public Schools food service line equipment as surplus and available for disposition. I have 2 Vol-Wrath steam tables, identification number 36140-00845-CAN120V, and related stainless steel sheets. One is at Hyman Fine and one is at Hill Roberts.
Second?
No, I'm still going.
Oh, there's more.
Atlas Steam Table 120V and 3 Atlas stainless counters and related stainless steel sheets at Thatcher. A servo lift, Eastern Steam Table 9133-208V and related stainless steel sheet at Willard. An Atlas Steam Table 120V and related stainless steel sheet, 1 stainless at Studley.
Second.
Thank you. I think they're pretty self-explanatory. Does anybody have any other concerns, questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $208 from account 1124100-578300 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 1220100-578020 fire-bills previous year regarding the need to pay an invoice from Compton Door in the amount of $208 from fiscal year 2017.
Second.
Thank you again. Pretty self-explanatory. Any other questions, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. From the supplemental docket of November 21st, 2017, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $581.03 from account 1124100-578300 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 1124100-517315 citywide military retirement credit regarding the need for funds to cover the expense of an employee during his military deployment.
Second.
Thank you again. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Any questions, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That passes. I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $3,542.20 from account 1124100-578300 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 11461-000-530820 collector recordings regarding the need for funds for 117 accounts to be recorded at the Registry of Deeds due to the tax-taking process.
Second.
Again, pretty self-explanatory. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Number 5, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro to accept a donation of $50 in Stop and Shop gift certificates from Larry Qualia to the Veterans Department.
Second.
Again, self-explanatory. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes. I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro to accept the donation of $500 in Stop and Shop gift certificates from the Attleboro Elks Lodge number 1014 to the Veterans Department.
Second.
Again, I think it's self-explanatory. All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. And what I want to say from all of these that are donations is that we're very thankful that people take the time to do that and that they give of themselves to help some others less fortunate. Thank you. Okay, to strike. From the docket of December 22nd, 2015, I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of December 22nd, 2015, that the Attleboro Municipal Council supports a proposal of the Attleboro Police Chief to designate an area near the police station with electronic surveillance for residents to engage in transactions for the sale of goods which have been arranged through the internet or any similar means. This was brought out 12/15/15 by Ms. Perica, and it was also referred to the administration. It has kind of sat. We can always bring it out again. I did mention I had this discussion with Councilor Perica. Are you okay with this?
I'll second the motion so you can have the discussion.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Lost it there.
It's okay, if I may. Thank you. I don't have a problem with you striking this.
Okay.
I most certainly will be introducing this business back in again. It came in at the request of a constituent to offer a safe location for people to do internet transfers. You know, if you bought something on eBay, like
being a safe,
whatever, a safe spot. It has wonderful support from the police department, and it was up to the administration to pull the trigger on setting that all up, and it didn't go anywhere. So I'm one of the things I'm slightly disappointed about. I'm hopeful that the new administration will be open to that, and I will introduce new business again.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much. All those in, or any other concerns or questions? I'm sorry.
This is something, I know you said you would bring it back in and stuff, and I know it's just a strike, but this is something that I think is really important to have this designated area, especially where I do go on sometimes the online yard sales. I've had to meet someone, I'll be like, I'll meet you at the police department. Yeah. People are robbed, and the chief of police has said he wholeheartedly supports this too. And that it's just a safety issue for me too. So, I mean, I know you said you bring it back in, but it's something that even if, I just think it's very crucial to have the safe area.
I agree. I agree.
If I may just, it's coming back second week. We're going to give the new administration a shot on it, so it's fine. It's fine. We're going to put that one. It feels.
It comes right out. It makes it knowledgeable. Seen again.
It's fine.
It's new.
It's fine. I'll support the strike.
Thank you.
A whole new language, everything.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. From the docket of December 17th, 2013, I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of December 13th, 2013. And this was mine, to request this municipal council review, discuss, consider reducing the dollar amount in sections 2-12 and sections 2-13 as follows. Eliminate $5,000 in section 2-12, disposition of property, tangible property A, B, C, and D, and replace with $2,000. In section 2-13, disposition of certain tangible surplus supplies, replace $5,000 in the first and second sentences with $2,000. This was new business, like I said, from myself back in 2013.
Second the motion.
Thank you. Any comments, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. From the docket of February 7th, 2012, I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of February 7th, 2012, to investigate relocating the Hebronville plaque from Dolores Cotnoir Goodrow, which was accepted as a gift in June of 2009, and this was brought in as new business by Ms. Hegney, Councilor Hegney, in January 17th, 2012.
Second the motion.
Thank you. Ms. Hegney, we had discussions about this, and you finally got to a point where it actually could happen, and my concern is, would you like me to bring it out again, or do you want me to strike it? I have it to be struck, so
Yeah, I have no problem. We had it all set up, and then the weather changed. Gary Demers has apologized to me. He has the plaque at the plaque.
Okay.
So we'll have to contact him.
Okay. So we'll bring it out again, and we'll do it.
We don't even have to. I think it's just strike it.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes, and that is all I have this evening, and I would like to request adjournment at 9:52.
Second.
Thank you. We are adjourned at 9:52.
Aye.
All in favor?
Last but definitely not least, I like this. Call Public Safety and Emergency Management Committee to order. From the docket of December 5th, 2017, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $6,569 from account 1210100-519917, Police Hazardous Duty Pay, to account 1210000-530101, Police Professional Services, regarding the need for funds to have a contractor identify and isolate and tag fiber cable line within the police department network.
Second.
This is in order to get the police department online with the rest of the city. We have to have somebody identify. I'm not an electronic engineer by any means, but evidently we have to identify some wires so that we can get them on the system with the rest of them. And it's nothing we can do in-house. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry.
So I just think it's important to point out that the chief, again, he was able to fund this out of his own department.
Yeah.
Through finding surpluses in other accounts, so kudos to Chief Hagan on that.
Does a good job with that. He shuffles money real well.
I may be prejudiced, but he does a good job.
Huh?
I'm kidding. I said I may be prejudiced, but he does a good job.
I think you have
I
a
can
right.
say that now. What do you think?
I think you have a right to be. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. From the supplemental docket of November 25th, 2017, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $6,214.02 from account 112410000-578300, citywide reserve fund for transfer for funding to train and outfit one police recruit to the following accounts. $3,700 to account 121010000-532012. Police Academy tuition, $1,000 to account 121010000-558310. Police uniforms, $1,346.87 to account 121010000-530104. Police medical consultation, $167.15 to account 121010000-558208. Police supplies.
Second.
Second. Pretty self-explanatory. We're fortunate enough to have a new officer coming on to go to the academy, and this money has to be made available. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes. I have one other motion. It's to strike from the docket of August 18th, 2016. I entertain a motion to strike the following item from the docket of August 18th, 2016. Letter from Ellie Sugar, 11 Manchester Street, Attleboro, Mass., regarding the increasing installation and use of outdoor fire pits by individuals on their properties in Attleboro.
Second.
This particular item was taken care of basically right after I received the letter, or we received the letter. This was sort of a neighborhood sort of dispute. I contacted the person, I contacted the fire department. They were in their lawful right what they were doing, and I held it in committee to make sure that they didn't vary from the right way of doing things, and they didn't, so the matter sort of went away. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. I have no other business this evening for public safety management. Thank you very much. Second, move to adjourn. I thought I'd keep you a little longer because I know you're anxious.
Just remember to put your committee minutes in Linda's basket so she can prepare the motions for next week, please.
God, you were